we're on a 12-month contract, but we either gotta take a, if we don't go with work at all, take a vacation day or a sick day.
Thank you,
Right.
Candace.
Oh, you're welcome. Is that working?
Perfect.
You work early in the morning.
Or do 4 cans or something like that.
Yeah, well,
He's not here today.
if you don't come in at all on the day, then take a vacation. Or empty, but you could take
No.
2 hours on the drive.
3 cans and 1 egg.
Okay, it is 5:30 PM on May 15th. I'd like to begin our work session meeting. And Candace, would you do a roll call, please?
Yes.
Okay.
Councilmember Northville, Councilmember Stevens, Mayor Scott,
Here.
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
And,
Councilmember Beal,
Yes.
and Councilmember Perry is currently absent.
He is absent today.
Okay.
Okay, we're getting feedback on this.
It's my fault. It's down. We should be good now.
All right, thank you. We'll begin with department reports. Colby, you're first. Chief.
Okay. A little update on the property. Craig and what did the follow-up like was assigned. I couldn't really tell from the pictures, so I went and drove by it myself today. It looks like some things,
Are worse than others.
yes, and there's been an attempt to organize. But as far as like the nuisance, it's still there.
Oh.
But I would say that I would call it an improvement. However, it's so slight,
Which one are you talking about?
the Kelly property.
The one we postponed till tonight.
Rusty
Yeah.
cover. That will,
Not Rusty Calvin's, the other one.
yeah, oh, I'm sorry, the Kelly, it's the Kelly property.
Yeah,
Yeah, the one the same, that's loaded.
that's the home of a former mayor.
San Kelly?
No,
Something.
Bertus Nielsen.
Oh, the home.
The home.
Previous owner.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, so. I can see that things have been moved around. But it's really the only report I have on that. It's not a.
Rearranged the deck chairs.
Yeah,
But the Titanic is still sinking.
Yeah.
but yeah, besides that, as far as our department reports, there's not much that, I want to talk about yet. It's up and coming. So there's some changes in our departments.
I did have a question on that property. Yeah. I did have a question on that Kelly property too. That's right up against that school. Private school.
Oh,
a
I
TV
think,
show.
Councilman, you're confusing the bus. The parking violation. The Kelly property is right up there on 300 north. The 300 north and
Oh,
320.
I'm thinking about
Right
it.
across the street from that one entrance to the park.
But the bus in the driveway,
Oh,
the camper in the driveway was by you.
Yeah, and so those individuals came in, well, we had an additional parking complaint that Officer Powell went and addressed. And the daughter informed him that they weren't going to fight it. That they were planning on just moving their trailers around. So as far as that issue goes, they're taking care of it. I'm not sure, Sergeant or Lieutenant Craig has followed up to make sure that they vacated that trailer. But this one tonight's gonna be the nuisance property. Up on 30th and 30th.
yeah.
So, Sean and I did go meet the school district today, started the talks for a potential full-time SRO. I think it went well. He's gonna wait for him to get back to us.
Have you got any of these other like situations you're working on right now?
Like,
With nuisance
Huh?
ordinance.
yeah, there's some that, the mayor's made me aware of that we're working on. I've got to get Cragen back from, he's at a CJC symposium, the Children's Justice Center Symposium. That's hosted by the CJC in Park City right now.
It could be a full-time project for every officer we have, plus add 10 more.
Right. It could be. So we do have some other properties that we're gonna start working on. One being the weeds, right across from the company we built on that house, the vacant house, and then the 525. East,
550 east.
550 east, and then can't remember the south on that. But
265,
265, Bob.
265 north.
And then how about the one down by the fishing game? Across the street,
Down here.
100 south?
So down by Skyline, like Skyline Builders. Or, are you talking about?
Well, it's the it's the experimental growth laboratory.
Yeah, across 100 south and about 500 west on the south side of the street.
Where the diesels,
The diesel property, is that what you're referring to?
The one that I was thinking about.
So I personally talked to him in the past about parking, and removing the vehicles from the roadway. He's keeping them right off the roadway. But that's something we can look into again. Any other questions?
this is a concern of all of ours. I think you
It
can,
really is.
you can hear that on the council. We're getting feedback from our residents. And we just have to take a stand, and we have to have these violations cleaned up. We need to support you.
Yes.
That's something I think we're all committed to do, is supporting our police officers when you issue citations. And we need to create a paradigm that the minimums need to be met that are in our codes.
Agreed.
And so,
We did have a witch hunt.
As I say, we've set up a meeting next week with Judge McKibb. So that we can start to move some of these cases through our justice court rather than district court
good.
to hopefully get this. We've got to get him on board with some of this, but that's the direction I think we're
I'd
going.
like to be in that meeting.
I will send you an invite.
Because it doesn't do any good if you go out and do things and then council doesn't.
Well, there's several steps to this. It's not only the council, but it's also the court system.
Right.
And for a long time, if you didn't have a signed complaint, the judge just looked at you and said,
I can't do
I'm
anything.
not doing anything.
Right. And that's looking at our process. And like I said in last meeting, ultimately we want compliance. And we want to gain that compliance from, very little enforcement possible. And so that's what we'll start with, and we'll go through it. Like with, talking to Sean, changing our process a little bit, like I said, where we start putting things through justice court more often, and having Judge McKibb on board with that will help out.
Great.
Chief, is it okay?
Oh, yeah.
Is this typically a reactive thing where residents will bring a complaint forward, or are we ever proactive? I just see with new housing developing, Verdi type of stuff, and also with the temple being built, I think citizens or residents are perhaps a little bit more aware of how our town looks. But in the past, you've handled these for years.
We've traditionally been a complaint base. So as a
The residents.
wait for somebody to complain and then go out. It's mostly because we don't have manpower to go out and find everything. But if we do see something that is egregious, we can be that complainant and go out. But prior to frankly, in the last year and a half, we just have not had any kind of enforcement activity at all. So we're basically starting from scratch and making sure that we've got a process in place, procedures in place of how we're doing it. Colby and his team have been very, very good to take the advice that I brought and to follow that, working within their operating procedures. But short of having a separate code enforcement officer, that's their full-time job, we're relying on our police force to do this when they have time.
And I'm just wondering, is it typically 4 or 5 incidents a year? I just don't know the historic, because I don't want to go crazy, but I think there are a number of people that are, especially on the north side of town, where there's some improvements being made. I think that
Right.
we might see.
And that's the changes that I wanted to implement. I've changed we have a draft version of our procedures. And I've changed the wording in that because it was strictly complaint based or violation seen now by us. Because I think if we see a clear violation, then that's our duty to take action on it. Just like if we see something breaking the law, it's our duty to take action on it. So that's the way we'll operate moving forward.
Thanks, Chief. Just-
And in most circumstances, it's a public health problem too.
Well, and a safety problem.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're good. Thank you.
Were you able to go up to that service this last
I
week?
was.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah,
I'm glad you were
me,
there.
myself, Sergeant Guard, Officer Owens, and Officer Bell. All attended. We were doing the reception. It was very neat. It was a great opportunity to represent our department, represent the city there.
I'm glad you
Show
were
our
there.
respects.
And that was Santa Cruz Police Force.
Correct. Yeah.
I was up there and was so impressed. I couldn't believe. I mean, I don't know if you saw this, but they had the freeway shut down.
Yeah, we were part of that. Yeah.
I'm going, whoa.
And it's stretched, somebody told me they were live streaming it as well, and as the front of the procession was pulling into Santa Quinn, there was still officers getting on the freeway in Orem. So that's quite long, so.
Thank you. Brian.
Okay, maybe one bit of news that has been a little while coming. We have officially issued the zoning permit for the hotel, so they're good to go. They should start breaking ground shortly. We got their check for their impact fees and they should have that. So we had to wait for water samples to come back and a couple of items to check, and those have all been completed, so that is moving forward now.
Do we have an estimated completion a year out or not?
December.
They're hoping to go fast, so we'll see how fast they actually go. Normally, I would say that's a 2-year project, but depending on what kind of manpower they put to it, they could go faster, so.
When we broke ground, I visited with their CEOs about this. And that was my question. I said, are we a year out? And they said, oh, no.
Okay.
They said, we have warehoused all of the
Materials.
materials. There's no supply chain issues, and it'll be in the ground. I think he said 6 months after.
They are hoping to fast track this, so we'll see what
I
kind
don't
of.
know how many rooms, like we've talked about the rooms, but it's 2, not 3-story structure. I can look it up.
I want to say that's correct.
Fast.
Remember?
That's okay, yeah.
2-story, 3-story?
I thought it was 3.
I think it's 3.
I thought it was
The
3.
picture shows 3.
So that's probably correct. So.
Well, if I look better in a bathing suit, I'd volunteer to inaugurate the swimming pool once they start, but no way.
December?
no way. It's an indoor pool, isn't it?
Oh, that's right.
Aren't you live streaming this? We gotta cut down to 7.
We continue to have meetings on Ephraim Crossing Road. I spend probably 3, 4, 5 hours a week just in meetings talking about that, so that's going forward. We're still working on other projects in this phase of the well. That's the one on the agenda tonight. Water line up the mountain. We're still working on that one. We're starting to do work on the sewer expansion, sewer treatment system. So lots of projects going on still, and as well, there's lots of pieces to those. You'll see one part of that tonight. So do you want me to go over that tonight, just briefly?
Sure.
So what you have in front of you is the bond resolution, parameters resolution for the loan for the state of Utah. So what this is we got funding from the Corps of Engineers, $200 from the Corps of Engineers, as part of 25% match. In order to get that match, we went out and got a loan from the Division of Drinking Water at the state for $500,000. It's gonna be a $500,000 loan, 1%, 20 years. So in order to not raise the water rates, which the state wanted us to do by $12 a month at first, then front load the payments, we're gonna make 2 consecutive payments. And put them in escrow basically, so that we can do this without raising water rates. So we're trying to look out for the residents and not raise the rates and things like that. We think we can do that, make that payment. It's not a ton of money. Your payment's $28,000 a year. That's cheaper than a lot of the other payments that we're making for water projects. But it is something that we're working on. So we will have other stuff in the queue. What this covers is the pipe project, the phase 2 of the well. So we're tying the well in with multiple connections into our system. After that, we should be fully up and running. Right now, we have just a single pipe connected to the well. We can get water from the well, but we're limited on our capacity because there's too much water coming out of the well and not enough space in the pipe. So we're adding more pipes in order to get that full capacity.
There's about 400,000 gallons a day coming out of that well. Naturally.
Yeah, and maybe more than that. It's a lot of water coming out of that well, just artesian. Jeff will probably talk about that overflow in a minute, but we've been working on that as well. Also, side note, the bids for this next phase, we have received the bids back from our Martin's, the low bid, by quite a bit. He wanted this job, so he bid accordingly, and we're excited to have him working with us again on the next phase of the well. So, any questions? Be short tonight since we've got a lot of other stuff going on.
Thank you. Chief Hermanson.
And we'll get 2 more weeks of open burn, then we'll close it down for the season. 1st of June, we'll close it down, close fire season without a permit. We're up to 130 inspections done for the year. I went through the list today and there's probably 30 or 40 more that need to be completed. We're waiting for them to get their business license done. Fire calls were up to 28, we were 26 this time last year, and this coming Monday, I've got the whole 2nd grade from the elementary, which is about 100 kids coming down for the fire safety training. The guys have put 306 hours worth of training in for the year, so
That's pretty darn good.
they're all ready to go for wildland season, so.
Would you please express to them our gratitude for their investment of their time? Because this is all volunteer. And they've got to be trained. And they step up to the plate. You know, for those maybe on Facebook, our response time is minimal. Other communities in the state, their response time is 16 and 17 minutes. Ours is 6.
6 to 8 minutes
Yeah.
till the first vehicle's on scene, so. Other than that, things are going good, so.
Thank you.
Chief, was it the Viking Village get a hold of you to sleep overnight, Thursday night
I haven't heard.
in the fire lane?
Amanda was gonna forward me the email on it.
Okay. All right. I told him I'd talk to you.
Yeah.
Understand.
Thank you. Jeff Jensen. Hi, Jeff.
Good afternoon, Jeff.
So as Brian mentioned, we do have the culvert for the artesian well on site. We will not get to it probably till the first part of June. So if we hear from Dawn, that's the status of it, but we'll get on.
Has he
that.
contacted you? He told
He has
me,
not.
he told me he was going to contact you.
I have not heard from him,
Okay.
so. Yeah, we, as we're getting ready for Memorial Day, Scandinavian Days, we've had, 3 water leaks in the last week to kind of derail us, but we're on schedule. We're playing a little bit of catch up, but, I think we'll do good. The weeds are finally popping up, so trying to tackle those and get the ones that we didn't get pre-emergence on this year, so. Let's see. And the most important thing of the year, we're getting flowers tomorrow.
It is, it's important to a lot of citizens, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll get them. Pretty early tomorrow morning.
Awesome.
So hopefully we have less trouble with the hanging baskets than we did last year. There were some issues with that one block, but we think we got them fixed, so. We're also trying to get Main Street swept. I think Carrie has temporarily fixed our one sweeper truck. We can get that done. I reached out to Preston with the state and he said slim to none. As far as getting the broom up here from the state, so.
When is UDOT going to restripe the road? Do
I
we know?
think I thought I remembered saying it was in August.
Sometime, I don't know, start date.
Yeah, I'm not
Sometime
sure.
in summer.
Well, they'll have to sweep it for that.
He knows the need is there. They're kind of in the same situation that we are. They're trying to get a new broom for this section, but they just haven't, so. They're still trying, he said they're still trying to get one lined up to sweep man type of graduation. So they're having a rough time with it too. That's about it. We just got a lot going on. It's getting really busy and, got a Les Allen project, Sunrise on 7th, going out on 700 North and 100 East, along with the storage units on the next parcel to the south. So, kind of been working with Todd on where to place water lines in the road and stuff like that. So, so what's going on out there? Like I say, that's it for me, unless you guys have any more questions.
The 4th South Road, turning that into a one-way road.
On the west side,
Yeah.
We've had some preliminary conversations about that and what that may or may not look like. I talked to Brian about it with the UDOT restriping project, maybe limiting some of that. There'll be some signage that needs to go in. There's a couple of things where, whether we start it, one way, obviously at Main Street, but maybe ending the one way past the hotel, just so that the residents coming in don't feel like they have to come in on Main Street and to turn into their homes, they can come up, which they're going to do anyway, whether that's one way or not. So what does that signage look like and what notification do we have to provide to UDOT to
we've
do that?
also just talked about, no left turn, right turn only.
Yeah,
That'd be helpful.
Stuff like that, but,
a lot of that comes down to, we can put the signage up, but old habits are hard to break. So it's going to be dependent on some extra patrols from the police department to hang out there and make sure that people are, that kind of enforcement will be the key to changing habits.
I think we need to look into acquiring property on the south side, not the whole house, but I think you could widen the road to match up with the hotel parking lot. If you just took out that one tree and put the road up through there.
And maybe, Sean, that's a conversation you need to have because the hotel owns the house.
Yes,
And just explain to them that it would be to their advantage
they have a wider road.
to have a wider road for access for their patrons. And so, I think there's I'll bet there's 20 feet between the edge of the road and the house. So if we did 10 feet, that would really help us.
I think there's definitely enough room to match up with what the hotel has as far as curb and
Yeah.
around there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thanks.
Jonathan.
A few things, just I'll give you all a sheet for the donations for the year so far, so you have that.
What did we set our total amount? That's okay.
So it's in there with the expenses of probably going to use them. You probably all got a text today from Ephraim City about water usage. It was hopefully good. I think it's been very educational for a lot of residents who called and had questions about. Some were surprised that they were using that much water. Some of them had no idea because they're not reading their statements. So
I would have the members know that we received over 100 phone calls today,
Really
which is
about that.
good
Yeah,
because it is part of educating our residents.
they also, I think there's a leak.
Yeah. Plumbers have been called.
Yeah,
What's an average usage amount for a half acre lot?
that's a good question. So a lot of people like, well, that seems really high. And then, well, actually, in the last 6 months, that's about what you use. So that's your average usage. Usage, I mean, it depends on the household and the lot size and everything, but you know, some are using 19,000 gallons and thought that was crazy. And then that's what they're using every month. So
6,000 gallons per person in the household is,
Per year,
no, per month,
per month?
is pretty normal.
Holy smokes.
Average yours.
79,000 a month for the winter time.
Say again,
About 79,000 a month for winter time.
for winter time.
In winter time, sometimes you go anywhere from 20 to 150,000, depending on how big the yard and how big the branch.
If I get to 100, if I get that, Jeff, please tell me.
Say that again, Jeff, I missed it.
Which part?
Your whole statement.
So there's, you generally 7 to 9,000 gallons a month per household in the winter time. Summertime is usually 20,000 to 150,000. Okay. Depending on yard size and sprinkler system.
Thank you.
So, just to today, that helped identify 3 leaks with properties, so that's good. And then on my water advisor, before today, we had 15 people on there, now we've got 37, so it's not a huge amount, but it is generating some interest in looking at that at least, so. And then, so next month, today we send it out to everybody. Next month, we're gonna send it out to high water users. Just let them know, hey, you're using a lot of water. Here's some conservation tips and things that we need to look at.
This is a really good tool for conservation. We had a user, this has been a couple of years ago, but we had a user that was using about 750,000 gallons per month.
wow.
And
Pretty green lawn.
and so we notified them. Now, this was a large user. We notified them and they went and did some investigating. They had a sinkhole underneath their pump system. It had been leaking about the size of around us. And where that was located, it was just leaking right down into the ground. Yeah. And so, can you imagine how much that saved the city in water?
We had a customer come in just a couple weeks ago that talked about how he had it on auto pay and had never looked at his bills because it was just being auto paid, and realized about 6 months later that his bills were abnormally high and had found a leak. We helped him fix the leak, but he was like, well, how come the city didn't tell me? And that's exactly what the system is what we're trying to accomplish with it, is if you are outside of your normal usage or you're a high water user, we want to notify people so that they can fix problems before they become the sinkhole after months and months and months of leaks.
Well, this was after years.
Yeah.
This had been going on for a decade in this particular location.
So, okay, so that's that. The financial statements, we'll look at that, page 4, we start there. So general fund, revenue, over expenses, 206,000. Oil and Canyon sidewalk projects and GoYo grant, I don't think we should one those out. General fund's about 15,000. expenses over revenues, so. This is at the end of April, so the general fund's already spent like 15,000 after pulling the streets grant and the grant out, so. So yeah, just reiterate, all of us in general fund, be careful with expenses and watch what we're doing. Everything else is looking pretty good.
John,
Yeah,
for our next city council meeting, and this is germane to our budget and everything else, but could you provide just a readout of our impact fees and the areas that the impact fees are siloed into? We need to we need to be able to look at that.
that's in there.
Is it?
We got route tax, streets.
Which
impact.
page is it on?
Impact fees are on 7. So that's streets. And we got parks and rec, we got emergency services. And then towards the end, you'll have water and sewer impact fees as well. But I can get more detail on that if you want, but yeah, they are here for you to look at. But we just some.
Yeah, I'd like,
You want them all on one page type of thing? that you can look
Yeah.
up, compare?
Yeah.
Okay.
is that okay?
That's fine. Yeah, so I'm open to giving this information to you, however is easiest for you to read and most useful. So I'm fine with additional information, different information, whatever works best for you. The other one that looks concerning is water. In the report, it shows a negative 1.5 million. That's because that the water project cost funds, so to pull that out, that's a positive 389,000. So it's concerning in here, but you can look at the chart in the eye. There's a little bit more detailed breakout, page 23. And then just one more thing that I want to point out on that is the power fund with the payoff of the 3 power projects. In here, it's showing 804,000 positive. We run that over the last 2 years, like we've been doing with the high valid costs. That was between the 2 years, about 97,000 positive. So even though we paid that off and it was a large amount, we're still positive between last year and this year. So that's good. Okay, any questions on that? Any questions on the warrant register for me?
Council members, any questions on the warrant register?
Okay, this time.
We talked about I've got a few notes on the big one here. I guess it is.
Right, yeah.
Just a couple of things. Sorry, I was looking at these impact fees and got distracted. So I noticed there was a big elevator bill.
At the.
I don't know how many elevators we have in this town, but we serviced all 3 of the city ones. And I noticed that they're all 3 different. So Schindler does, this is on page. Yeah. So the TK elevator, the co-op, I'm just wondering,
Which page are you on?
page 9. So 7, 8, and 9. On 7, it's the library, so Otis Elevator Company. On 8, it's Schindler Elevator, which did the city building.
Yep.
And then TK did co-op, so 3 different providers. 2 questions. Why do we have 3 different people? And the second is, with the co-op, given that it's kind of a shared governance thing, should we keep track of what maintenance after our signing with Snow? Are we keeping track? Should we be monitoring that just to kind of see if we need to review or add an addendum or anything like that in the future? I know we definitely talked through it at the time, but 2 questions for you, John.
Yeah, so we have 3 different elevators that are all built by different manufacturers, and each manufacturer is currently servicing their specific
product.
elevator. We've talked about consolidating it to have one elevator company service all 3. So we gotta look at contracts and see if those are up and we can renew them, or if we need to wait till some of those expire.
Because the library one was 3 times the cost, but maybe they did more than just what they did with the other
The
two.
library's gonna have. We gotta look at doing a test on the library every 5 years to do a drop test, and they look at some capacity and drop it down and make sure that it withstands the pressure. So,
Lloyd and I want to be on that one next.
yeah. So
They
that
do
is
not.
done right, but that one's about $5,500, just that one test. Is the total you see, so.
A lot of times too, these different companies
Oh,
have mechanical items that are specific to that elevator. And that's, we've run into some real challenges with that with some of our, particularly the co-op elevator. We thought we were gonna have to replace that at $1.2 million. And
Could have been,
we put a
good for them,
you know,
The other parts.
So, just a little clarification on that one, the large expenses for the co-op elevator, we got a random inspection from the state on that one and found some deficiencies. And, I'm really frustrated with this because we pay that particular elevator company a specifically high fee to maintain the elevator. And we were found in violation of 3 or 4 different violations, and we ended up paying an extra repair cost to do this. And my thinking is, well, if we're paying you to maintain the elevator, shouldn't you be keeping it up so we
right.
don't fail the inspections? So, and then we've just got a notice, yesterday for another inspection that's coming due on one of the elevators. So as the state is going around and doing these inspections, we may see some of these bills come up. So John and I have had a couple of different conversations with his team about consolidating these 3 contracts into one to see if we can save some money.
And the other piece of the question, again, I know where we stand with the lease.
To that point,
Yeah.
the lease does have a maintenance agreement in there for costs up to a certain point that the school will take care of, and then over that point, we negotiate. But the elevator was one of those things that we committed to providing them a working elevator as part of the entrance to the lease. So this, because we didn't feel like it was a completely working elevator due to these violations, we felt the obligation to take on these costs without passing that on to Snow College, because we felt like we're obligated to provide a working elevator to them.
And I think even beyond the elevator, I guess it just looked long-term, 10 years down the road, if they are still leasing it from us, and they very well could be, since a 15-year lease with an option to buy at any point along the way. You know, if we have extraordinary years back to back to back to back, then we are just, you know, at what point do we see if they would be interested in some sort of, you know, even more, I guess I think it would be really good if we're not already to really keep extra track of all of these things, because we have an interested party.
Sure.
Versus here at the city, we're just gonna pay it every time every time the elevator breaks, it's us. But anyway, it's not a big cost. Another one is the aviation refueling hose on page 12, $2,700. That must be, I'm just wondering how often, and do we split that with Manti? I don't know if you can speak to that.
They put in the new tank and the hoses, I'm not sure if you know, one history on that, but.
So the hoses were more than 10 years old and were cracking.
Kind of a one and done.
So we chose to upgrade those hoses. It was actually a full, from where they connect, new handles, new grips, and they were longer hoses than what we've had previously. They were 50 feet. We upgraded to 75, and along with that, we upgraded the reels because we needed bigger reels to accommodate that, to put those in. We found a supplier that was on the state contract, so we didn't have to go out to bid for those. And this is a local supplier out of Spanish Fort or Santa Quin. So this is the only supplier in the state of Utah that provides these hoses. Otherwise, we would have been in Denver or Colorado to have that. So we felt like paying a little bit more maybe to have the local service was beneficial. And they came down and took a look at things and made sure we were getting the right products for this. But due to the age of the hoses, we decided to do a full replacement. However, this is the way we paid for this is we had a grant reimbursement. We had some COVID funds. that were not used, that were specific to the airport. And we had to submit some receipts to the FAA to get these grant funds back, and we were granted about $40,000. We just turned in our fuel costs over the last 4 years, and they reimbursed us about $40,000. So it was out of that $40,000 that we upgraded the hoses, that we upgraded all that. We also upgraded the gate, made a repair to the gate to make it so it could go into manual mode in case of emergency. And then we upgraded the gate panel, which gives us the new access to log the access of people coming and going. And that's all being coming out of that kind of grant funds so that we're not taken from the airport funds. So your question about whether Manti pays, yes, they did. We have an airport budget that an operating budget that we take some of these things out of. But these specific upgrades, we felt like because we had this extra $40,000 that just came in, that we felt like we could do that. We're also looking to upgrade the fuel center, and we'll talk about that later.
Tiny little one, just page 1. What other city has a sword and shield on their warrant register? We have a pretty cool town. So for I'm done, John.
Well, you know, you're supposed to be prepared for any kind
It's
of,
cool.
yeah.
Corey.
So, I don't know if all council members are aware, we've been a member of the Naval Power Project for 20 years. It started in 2002. Anyway, so that little piece right there, I want to pass around, it's actually a piece of the steam turbine. It's,
Whoa.
so, they made all the members, special little, cool little paperweight is pretty much what it is. Anyway.
Will that fit into the old hydro where we need it fixed?
Yeah.
It's great metal.
Exactly, yes, that's pretty good metal, it lasts long, the donation. So they did a presentation with the Naval Power Plant. It was kind of neat to see that we actually only have an entitlement of 1% out of that 130 megawatts that's there, which is what, 1,300 kW. Yeah, in 2004, that was pretty good for Ephraim. And it was during the Enron days when the market prices were super high and volatile. Kind of almost what we've seen, last year in 2022, that we're working towards another natural gas power plant, and it'll be interesting to see where that comes into play in the next 5 years and give us more energy from those natural gas plants. And another side note, we're starting to receive power from Still Solar. We're getting 200 kW from them right now. Well, the sun shines, obviously. So we have 2 solar facilities we're getting power from, new resources, so that's been good. I'll just for time's sake, that's, really all I have as far as, there's a lot going on with UAMPS, as you probably all know. There's some stuff with Rocky Mountain Power I want to talk about maybe later when we have more time with fire mitigation things that they're wanting.
They came and met with us at the mayor and commissioner meeting. We talked about all of that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about that
Great.
later.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's kind of I don't know, they just, anyway, they won't tell the members like Ephraim City, power's getting loud, they're just gonna shut up.
Yep.
And just so that the people of Ephraim City understand that it's a transmission issue, not an Ephraim City issue, just, and that's something we get out on social media and get out there once that gets in. Once the fire season gets underway, probably June, July timeframe. As far as on power department side with Ephraim, we've been installing all conduit and infrastructure for the Deer Ridge subdivision up in 600 South, or excuse me, 600 East, 100 South. That's almost completed. The hotel conduit's all in, that's all completed. There's these other projects that are coming on. Seems like there's always something every day that's coming up that we need to plan for and build out. And so it's keeping us super busy. And Chance and Jaden went to Grand Junction and they completed a transmission class, 4-day transmission class out there. You need so many hours during your apprenticeship to have, hours enough to take your journey when you go to that, get to that point. So they really enjoyed it. They see a lot of cool stuff. They got some cool videos. I just wish I had a lot more time to show all of council everything that's going on, but I know it's time. But as far as presentations go, there's a lot of cool stuff. Our software is rolling along good. As you know, our Empower stuff's up and rolling. Me and Brian have been working on AutoCAD. When we have time, trying to get our mapping where it needs to be. The SCADA software with Eaton is up and going. He's coming Monday and Tuesday and finishing all that up. I want to do a short presentation, show you how that's working and everything one of these days. Like I said, there's just a lot I want to show you guys to see where that money's going, so you understand kind of what, like, what's this $70,000 for, so I want to explain a little bit more. There's a lot of cool stuff that's happening on the power department side. And I really want to look into, mayor and council, I want to look into the customer portal with power. I know it's still not out there for some reason. We just can't seem to find the right vendor to actually bring that up, like the water, usage, so that customers can actually look at their energy usage, just like they can the water, and see where they're at with it. If they have a high power bill, we've had a lot of people come to us, at least upstairs, and ask us, why is my power so high? What am I using, And I think this customer portal would probably help if we could find the right vendor to accommodate that. So kind of in the works of looking at that.
How's the generator coming on the old?
So, yeah, thanks. We got the turbine, or excuse me, the governor repaired yesterday. It worked perfectly, flawlessly. Go and put it online. I think my breaker switch, I have an issue with it. So it's not just the governor, there's something going in the control panel. So I need to get up there and troubleshoot that, see what's going on.
Yeah, just make up with it. You got an issue, just
The water control for our unit 1 is coming tomorrow. Gonna get it installed. Hopefully we can get that fired up this week. We got lots of water coming.
I think we're right on the cusp from Brian's report today. We're right on the cusp of
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
our high water.
Yeah, our springs are really picking up. We're probably putting out almost 25 to 3,000 gallons a minute.
Really?
With our springs that are coming through the hydro.
Great.
So which is really good. Keeping our tanks full.
So that geyser is 90 feet in the air now?
Well, so I actually got water diverted and then it got cold and then now it's got warmed up and now it's come back. So.
Lloyd went, and I went up and saw that.
And that's an air vent that we've had in place and that water just backs up so far and then it comes through that air vent. Yeah, it is kind of a.
He wanted me to stand underneath it.
You could take the
Every time.
And that was April.
That's all I have, thanks.
Thank you. Jordan, new Papa Jordan.
We'll do fine.
And the video you posted had my wife rolling on the floor.
5 weeks. We're gonna know.
No, it wasn't that video.
Picture of the mayor.
That wasn't the video.
Grabs again.
What video? Oh,
With your daughter.
my daughter? Oh. Yeah, I have a new daughter, so. That's kind
How's
of,
she sleeping?
yeah, Gwen, she's sleeping good and it's kind of my report today.
Okay, goodbye.
Just kidding. So things are going good in city recreation. Baseball it's the first week of baseball. It started on Monday and so far so good. Baseball is kind of it's a whole new beast of its own and we're getting things figured out and so far it's ran smoothly. We had one incident where there were 5 balls and 4 strikes called. So there's a little training that needs to be corrected there. But so far things have been running smoothly. We have a great staff, a great field crew that's been maintained and built. So baseball's been going good for the most part. Scandinavian Days continues to go great. Amanda, I always brag about her every time. I'll brag about her again. She's doing a wonderful job. I think she is wound herself very tight. So if any of you guys see Amanda, be sure to say, hey, Amanda, I think you're doing great because she really is. I asked for numbers today, so I'm actually accurate, not lying to you guys when I ask about vendors. Right now we have 105 craft vendors and 40 food vendors. So
Wow.
That's a good enough, 105 in counting craft members.
Who's in charge of the weather this year?
Not me, I've
Which
had my
council
turn.
member? Anthony, you're in charge of the weather.
Yeah, it's gonna be sunny.
About 72, 73 degrees,
Not like St.
sunny
Pete.
both days. Okay.
All right, it's about time.
If I can add, Amanda did provide pins, this year's Skin
Yeah.
and Festival pins to the council, so you each have one of those at your station there.
And I don't even get one of those, so that's pretty good deals for getting those, so that's sweet. But yeah, so things are going good with baseball and Scandinavian days, and we're excited for next week. Ephraim City Recreation was awarded a $200,000 grant for a bowl feature and landscaping for the skate park.
Wonderful.
So we are getting to work on the contract with that, and all used to Daniel, I keep dumping contracts on him to look over. I'm sure he's got some other stuff to worry about. Thank you and sorry, Daniel. With the road fix grant connecting Mill Road, that's going good. We haven't had a trail cat go through there. It's basically like a little tractor and it's kind of crushed up the rocks, and now we just need to send out an RFP to get road base over that. Then we'll have some signs that just says like OHB, bike trail, disc golf course, and hopefully we get some more traffic through there.
Good.
So that's going good. Our RAP tax meeting is coming up June 14th, and we'll be meeting with some of Ephraim City's very finest, including Anthony Bill and Greg Bailey. So exciting for that. That will be good. Speaking of contract stuff, the South Stampede School District, we are renewing our contract with them to, well, it's more of an MOU to run their basketball courts. And just makes it easy for us for basketball season, and it's not too much of an extra load to scheduling like accelerated basketball leagues. So that will continue as well. You know, per Sean's sign off on that as well.
Yes, we are signing.
Oh, sweet. So it will continue. My staff's been great. Like I said, I already talked about Amanda. She's been awesome. Parker.
You have a new staff member.
Yeah, Parker.
Yeah.
He's just hit the ground.
Well, he's not new, but he's new
Yeah.
in this position.
He's new in this position, and we kind of saw him as like a plug and play kind of guy, and he's done that and more. As he's coming from like, you know, part-time to full-time, so he's finding ways to make all our part-time employees on board, let them know what's going on with everything and make the process smoother so they're in the loop with sports and events. He's trying to organize our stuff, so it's a lot more simple when we have different sports coming up, so it's easy to give coaches their equipment. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about Parker. He's filled in when he needs to, at umping if some of our umpires are struggling, so he's been just putting out fires here and there. He's been doing a great job, so we got the right guy with Parker, so tell him, if you see Parker, tell me he's doing a good job as well. Yeah, and that is it for my report. Any questions for me?
Thank you.
All right.
Jordan, you're doing a good job too.
Just saying that. Real quick, I just want to give a shout out to the Ephraim Second Ward young men, finest group of patriots you'll ever see this side of Mississippi. They're great guys, so glad to have them here.
Welcome.
Awesome. Michael, last but not least.
Biggest thing for the library is summer reading program. Signups start next Friday and runs for June 15th. And the theme is adventure, so we've got lots of activities for all ages to come and participate in reading challenges. And so just trying to promote that, get as many community members to come to the library and see the changes we're making, and hopefully promote more literacy and all the books we have there. We're also working on completely redoing the top floor as far as how things are organized so that flows better for our patrons. And
It's gonna be like Walmart. Every time I go in, I can't find it.
What I'm looking for.
we're hoping to move the young adult section up as well to that upper floor. So then we'll have adult and young adult upstairs, and then children's, and we're creating a middle grade section downstairs. So that's all I have to report on. Any
Okay.
questions?
It's great.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Thanks.
And Jonathan, thank you for doing that. That was neat. All right, we'd like to close our work meeting and open, unless there are any objections.
You're not closing a meeting, we're just moving on. to the
Right.
agenda.
Yeah, I knew that. We'd like to move to our regular meeting and bring that to order. We'd like to have a pledge of allegiance by Dennis Nordfeld. Or do we have a scout here or a young man who would feel okay about doing the pledge? All you have to do is get us started.
They're pointing at each other.
I've got a prize for you, buddy.
Oh, yeah. There you
How about
go.
if we have the oldest one do the pledge and the youngest one,
He's coming to do it.
Yeah, he's coming to do
He's not
it. He's
the oldest,
volunteer.
and the other one do the opening prayer?
Right there's Pat and there's the flag right there.
Can you give me your name? Don Wood? Okay, thank you.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The second point, we're gonna have the other one say the prayer.
Oh, he's gonna say it.
Okay, we'll have one of you say the prayer,
Man, are we putting you guys out?
If you want. if you're okay with it. You'll just come up here and state your name, not as part of the prayer, but
Miles Bailey. Our dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. We thank you for the come to city council meeting tonight. Please bless that we can all have a good rest of our day, and that we can all be safe in our travels, and we say these things today in Jesus Christ's name.
amen. Thank you, Miles. We always like to have our residents do those things, and when we have them visiting, it's just a great opportunity to get to know them and for them to participate. Candace, I have one public comment here from Bob. Do we have any others? Okay, Bob, you want to come up?
Sure. So you kind of talked about these, but I spent a couple days writing this, so I'm gonna read it. Okay,
Please.
so my efforts are, somewhat appreciated. Good morning. First of all, I'd like to thank you guys for all the time and effort that you guys put into this. I know serving publicly can be hard. I know in your families, your time, sometimes relationships, and I want you to know that it's appreciated what you do. My wife and I began searching for homes about 4 years ago in San Pete. We went all over this valley and took several months, and finally we found one and just saw it and went, that's it. And we bought the home. We absolutely love it here. Great people, beautiful place to be. We both had the opportunity to travel all over the world, and there's something special about San Pete Valley. I don't know what it is. You come through that canyon, and this, this is a great place. In the main newsletter, Mayor Scott mentioned a couple items. One was tax increases, and the other one was cleaning your grass, cutting your grass. I'd like to kind of address those two, because I do think there's a relationship between them. After reading that, I stayed up most of the night reviewing the city codes, and specifically dealing with nuisance on property, weed control, accumulation of garbage, and inadequate plumbing. Several homes in our area are in blatant violation of these codes, specifically the homes at 294 North and 300 East that you addressed. Cars, motorcycles, metal debris, other garbage are accumulating, which you addressed tonight. This home is on the main street and visible to a lot of people as they drive by. What about the other homes? There's one at 265 North, 550 East, across the street from me, which is in worse shape. My understanding is it has been for 20 years.
30.
30? Yeah, he used to be next door neighbor. The home does have the city's attention as the police officers are there constantly as fighting escalates.
I know in one summer, they were there 15 times between two neighbors and trying to handle the situations. They have not had running water for over a year. They decided that their water was too expensive and they thought they had a leak. And so they talked to the owner and said, just shut it off. And so they borrowed water from a couple of us, and now I think they're going over to relatives and caused all kinds of stuff, right? That does. One of the issues is I was talking to them, what do you guys do for a toilet? Oh, we have a bucket. And they use a bucket, and when the bucket's full, they pour it down the toilet, and that apparently will flush it down. They also indicated they have about 20 cats there, all over the place. Now, I don't mind a couple, because they keep the mice down, but, yeah. As properties in Ephraim are allowed to deteriorate, because nothing's been done. To deteriorate and become covered with debris and with garbage, with animal waste, the value of those and their neighbors' homes declines. Its substantial effect. It appears that the way to solve two issues is, number one, beautify the homes. Because all you have to do is enforce the codes that are already there. I know it's hard. I know I've talked to people, a lot of people who have expressed the desire to have this done. Some have had some negative experiences with the officer who came out to talk to them about it. That doesn't need to happen. We have a beautiful city. I think the thing we need to do is work together to clean up the city, which will raise property value, which will raise property taxes. So that helps both issues. It's a symbiotic relationship between the two. Anyway, I think I'm to the end of that, and I want to thank you for your time. Any questions for me you have? But the house across the street from me, the only heat they have is a wood burning stove. So we now have a big pile of wood out in front going out to the street. There's a motorhome there that's been hit by a tree that's just big holes in it. Everything is rotting and falling apart, like you say, for 30 years. And nothing's been done. And honestly, that goes back to you guys. You're the ones here to enforce it. So I just urge you to please take care of these situations. You have total support from all the neighbors and everybody in the community that I've talked to. And thank you for your time.
Bob, if I can just say a few things, this particular home and some others have been a point of conversation with Chief Zeman and our city manager, Sean Lewis. We're going to pay attention to this. We're going to give this, I did mention it in May with cleaning up your properties, but I also mentioned it in the April newsletter. I will also mention it in the June newsletter. It is important for us to pay attention to these violations, and we're going to do it. Because it is a matter of public safety, and it's a matter of the way our community looks. In April, I talked about a group of my friends who came here from Wyoming, and we toured the valley. We toured all of the communities in the valley. They were appalled, not with Ephraim, because I asked them that specifically, but they were appalled at the accumulation of nuisance junk that was accumulating in people's yards. And I think the council for the last 2 years has really thought a lot about this. And I think we're unified in the fact that we know that we need to support our police department in code enforcement, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to do that.
Well, I appreciate it. The Rusty home, that's on a major road. People come to see the new temple. Boy, they're driving down there. I can see why that's suddenly a bit of concern. But the home that's up around the corner, that occasionally somebody drives up, that's been an issue for 30 years. I think that needs to kind of move up the list too, of places to really focus on.
It is.
Just like I say, this is a great place to live. I mean, look at the people around here. What a better place to be. So,
yeah.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you very much. our presentation, possible action items, presentation A is Miss Ephraim Annual Review, and Harmony Durkey is going to do that for us.
Which one's she?
I don't know.
Tell them thanks, Denise.
Definitely a big presence is my very small crown, so you'll be able to see me everywhere, but. So I am Miss Ephraim 2023, and I'm really thankful for the opportunity to be able to come review my year and just kind of share with y'all what I've done throughout the year. I've definitely had some difficulties with getting all kinds of new leadership in the rec department, and which has given me a lot of opportunities to work with a lot of new people. I've been able to work with Amanda and Jordan, and those guys have been so helpful throughout the year. Holy cow. And I worked with Hannah before she left, and it was just so amazing to work with the rec department. And with getting new Miss Ephraim directors, it's been kind of crazy trying to get everything ready, but I'm super thankful for the opportunity, and I've been able to accomplish a lot throughout the year. And so I'm just really excited to share everything that I've done. And I'm not really sure how this whole thing works because I didn't get a lot of information from my directors. So if you guys have any questions, just stop me and I'll do my best to answer. But so just kind of starting off, like with my year, I got to start off with doing the Scandinavian Festival, which I'm honestly really sad that our pageant had to be pushed back behind the Scandinavian Festival because it was so much fun as a brand new queen to be able to get out there and just introduce myself and my royalty. I'm so thankful for the girls that have been working alongside me the whole year. We got to redo the whole float within like a week, which was insanely hard, but it was so rewarding to be able to watch it. Right after that, I was able to do Memorial Day with the American Legion. I've been able to work pretty closely with them. And it's been really fun being able to gain those relationships with those people. They're very, very sweet people. All of the 4th of July parades throughout the summer, there was all kinds of parades that we did. We were traveling all throughout the county on the 4th of July. We did 3 different parades. We did Moroni, Mount Pleasant, and Manti, which it was a long day. It was a very, very long day. But we did all kinds of parades throughout the whole county. We did the Ephraim parades, and it was so much fun throughout the summer to be able to get out there and see the community because I love everybody, and I'm just so thankful that I've had these opportunities. Something that I kind of want to explain a little bit is my platform that I was able to implement this year, which is UNITE, which is an acronym standing for You and I Together Ephraim, which was explained in the pageant, and it will be on the 31st at our next pageant. But I've noticed as I've grown up in Ephraim my whole life, we're growing a lot, and it's kind of crazy to see how many people there are. And there's all kinds of new people coming with all of the new advancements we have, like a temple, and we're getting all kinds of new, just everything. Honestly, we're growing so much. And my main goal was to bring the community together, because a lot of times when organizations and things grow, they tend to grow out. And I know Ephraim is growing out, we're getting a lot bigger, but I want us to grow together as a community. And so that was kind of my goal throughout everything that I did. Let's see, what else did I do? I was able to help judge for a lot of little Miss pageants for little girls, which was so much fun. I did the Little Miss Liberty and the Blossom Beauties. And those little girls throughout the county are so cute. And the Blossom Beauties one was just at the beginning of this month. And there were so many little girls there from Ephraim, and it was crazy and so much fun to be able to connect with them. Throughout my year, I've had a lot of young girls come up to me and ask me about being Miss Ephraim, and I get to tell them all about how happy I am to be here. And it's just such an amazing opportunity, and that they should all try for the chance to represent their city, because it has been such an honor to be Miss Ephraim throughout the year and to represent us. Let's see. I was able to help with a lot of the surrounding pageants for the bigger girls my age. I was able to perform at the recent Miss Manti, where Kennedy Bailey won. She's the 2024 Miss Manti. I was able to attend a lot of them as well, like Miss Gunnison when Bethany Jessup won, and when our new Miss Sandy County was crowned, Anna Johnson, who is an Ephraim resident. So that was pretty cool to be able to be there. It's so fun to be able to see all of these connections that I'm making with the other queens. I don't know what to call them, like the sisterhood, I guess is what it's called. But I've made so many connections throughout this year, and I am so beyond grateful for the networking that I've been able to have. Some of the city events I was able to help with was the ATV ride. I did that before Hannah left, but that was really fun. I didn't even know that that happened before Hannah reached out to me and asked me to help. And I was like, this is so cool. Like, I'm so happy I was able to help. I handed out hats and numbers, and it was super fun. I was able to do the trick or treat for Halloween, and I had a booth where we did like touch and feel, No, that was really fun to interact with all of the kids because they did not want to stick their hands in boxes that they couldn't see. But it was so much fun. We did the light parade, which was a lot of work again with the float, being able to get it all set up and ready with all of the lights, but I think it turned out really super pretty. I was able to do the Christmas festival at Manti High School. I've been able to do a lot with the high school and I've been very grateful. I helped judge like some of their assemblies and just being able to interact with kids my own age that aren't just the little kids. I was able to help plan and host the daddy-daughter dance that they did in February, and that was so much fun. That was Amanda who helped me with most of it, and it was just so fun to see all of the people that came. Like I was meeting all kinds of people, and all kinds of the dads were talking to me about all the opportunities that I've gotten, and it has been really fun to be able to share that with people because I feel like it's always just the little girls that ask about my crown and my pretty dresses, but I've been so excited to be able to share like the big stuff that I get to do, if that makes sense. One of my platform events that I did going along with the daddy daughter dance was I did a mommy daughter tea party just a couple months ago. And that was a lot of work. It was kind of crazy to get it all set up, but it was so rewarding. I had over 50 mothers come with daughters and it was so much fun. We got to do a little like Q&A where the girls were able to ask me questions and I got to answer and just kind of explain what it was all about and how fun it is to be Miss Ephraim and to be a part of the city and help represent, because I feel like it has helped me grow as a person and help me be able to push myself further. Throughout my years as Miss Ephraim, I've done a lot, but I've also done a lot in my personal life. I was able to be registered as a CNA and I've had a 4.0. I'm planning to go into nursing at Snow College. I've completed pathways throughout the high school. Like Miss Ephraim has been such an amazing opportunity and I have been able to push myself so far because I really believe because of this crown, because it has given me a lot of confidence that I can do hard things. And it's been an amazing year and I'm so thankful for it. Since the pageant got pushed back to be behind Scandinavian Days, me and all of the contestants will be helping run the car show this year as one of my other platform events. So that's gonna be really fun. You guys should all come check it out. I'm really excited. I'm excited for all these girls that are competing in the next pageant. It's gonna be super duper fun. I just want to say thank you to everybody for giving me this opportunity. It has been honestly one of the best years of my life. I'm so I'm so thankful for this opportunity. I've learned so much. And being able to work with the city has been so nice. You guys have made it so easy. And a big thank you to Margie. I know that you've done a lot behind the scenes. My directors have been telling me you've been doing a lot for our upcoming pageant, which has been so helpful. I'm so thankful for everyone that has helped me get ready. And I'm just so thankful to have been able to represent the city and for all the networking and relationships that I have built with the city this year as part of my goals with my platform. So thank you.
Thank you. Harmony, you have represented your family in incredible ways, your community, and the pageant system for Ephraim. I commend you for your presence, for the dignity of which you have executed your office with. We are so proud of you, and I think you deserve a round of applause. And if there's ever anything we can do, you know, letters of recommendation, anything like that, don't hesitate.
Thank you.
So,
My directors told me to tell you guys that you all have 2 tickets for the upcoming pageant on May 31st. They don't have them printed, but you have them and they will give them to you. But thank you so much.
thank you. We'd now like to move to item B on possible action items, consent item. City Code violation review, Rusty Lee Talbert, 294 North, 300 East. Violation of ECC 4-08 code reference.
Okay, so my wife actually is the one that wrote the plan.
Yeah.
Some of those items have already been dealt with since that was written down. In fact, we came over from working on the yard today. just, got done mowing front yard, needs to be weeded and edged, which I have all that equipment. There is a fifth wheel that has all the equipment to, or all the materials to make it into a car hauler, that is currently on the side of Miss Jan Cragen and her husband's property. That is actually going to be going to another location. I'm just waiting for the guy to actually be able to meet up with me. The fifth wheel that was in the driveway is already gone. There's a few other trailers that have left. 3 of the motorcycles, as soon as I can get enough gas, we'll be heading over to go into a toy hauler. It's for hauling motorcycles and snowmobiles and stuff, which is also where a lot of my tools are currently being housed at. That's at a separate location. Some of the toolboxes have started going into the storage unit. But as of right now, I pretty much ran out of funding. I just got a job, started yesterday with Mr. Borman of Sorensen Sewing and Recovery, working on getting his shop to the point where he can start having inspections done to get it authorized to reopen the shop.
Is that a full-time job?
Yes. So I should start receiving funding to continue to address things. Part of what I did today was a meeting with Mr. and Mrs. Cragen, Jan Cragen.
Kim.
Yeah, Kim. We discussed the property markers and a new fence. They're in the desire to put up a vinyl fence that matches the fence judged warts that borders the other side of their property. And we talked about exactly where it would go. Mr. and Mrs. Cragen, I have always had good communication with. I spoke with their daughter today as well, because there was a fence put on one side by the previous owners of her house, and it's almost 3 feet too far into their yard versus ours. And Mr. and Mrs. Cragen's fence has been there for over 20 years. So we talked about kind of a compromise, just straightening it out and cleaning it up. They get their vinyl fence. They want a walkway that goes back into their daughter's yard. I told them I was cool with all that. We discussed what would happen with the other stuff. Yeah, see, those pictures were a couple of days ago, because some of the cabinetry that's actually sitting right there is no longer sitting there. There was a black filing cabinet inside of that truck bed trailer right there, which has actually been utilized inside of the carport to clean up the carport to get more stuff out of the driveway.
It looks like these were taken yesterday.
I've been working on it pretty hard. The cement mixer is actually going to go back into the carport. There's actually some items right there at the front. That riding mower right there next to the windows is actually heading away with scrap as soon as my scrap guy can come over and pick it up. There's actually a lot of things that are heading away to scrap. There's a recliner out by now there's a recliner out by the fire hydrant that we're just giving away. It actually works. It's a lazy boy massaging recliner. Had a guy come over and ask me about some windows. I told him to just take them. The rest of them are actually going to be going to the dump. That truck actually runs. The tire keeps on going flat on me. I have to refill it every day. That truck is licensed, registered, and insured. I just finished mowing the other side of that trailer right there with the toolboxes and stuff on it. That's the one that I was just saying is actually going to be turned into a car hauler. It's going to be dovetailed and everything like that. That's actually going away to another property to await a time when I have the appropriate location to do so. The metal that's right out in the main part of the driveway, that is the shop shed that I mentioned last time that I'm working on. I'm not seeing any of the pictures of the fence that we started. So
Is that on the south side or?
these platforms right there, those are for the planter boxes. So these ones right here, that's for the planter boxes that I mentioned in the last meeting. That scaffolding to build the shop shed, that's where the shop shed is going. These materials are actually going to be moved to the back. This is some of the bracing for the shop shed. That is part of the wall of the shop shed. Those are toolboxes are going to the storage. This is actually a service trailer that's full of my tools. I've got to get the custom trailer title made, and there is a fence on the far side of the house.
The south side of the house.
Yeah, over by the play, the swings and stuff like that. And then, like I said, I just spoke with Mr. and Mrs. Cragen today, about the vinyl fence that they would like to put across that side of the property. When everything is done, I have all the materials to do most of the run across the front side of the property on one side of the house in the planter boxes. I have the sheet tin to hold the potting soil in. Those platforms are the framework. They're actually going to be cut down and I got to do some welding. Rainy days actually make it to where I can't do any welding. And I've been focusing more on getting garbage cleaned up, burnable wood burned, sheet metal or metal that is not intended for the shop shed or for the fencing or the planter box. I've been sending out with a friend of mine, Larry Sprague, who we collected the scrap metal together for my business before. So, I mean, and that truck that's out front, the F-350, that's the other F-350 that has a flat rear tire. I need to put some gas into it and we got to drive it up onto a trailer because it's no longer licensed. The head gasket blew on it and it still runs and drives, but I got a ticket for emissions or something like that because it was blowing a ton of smoke. And I was told to take it off the road until the engine's fixed. It's actually going over with the big fifth wheel that was in the driveway. We've already paid for the location. Trailer's already there. We have 2 storage units to put stuff into. We've been transporting over, like I said, the front tire on my main truck. It keeps on going flat each day, so we've been mostly using our car to transport the boxes. And I'm still working on repairing the house. I just, as I said, mowed the front lawn.
It takes time.
Yeah, the most expensive part is actually the gas. My truck is actually a 460, 1988 460 big block. And it chews up the gas pretty quick, and at the current prices, it really hurts. But the only reason why the truck bed trailer is still there is because that's going to be used to haul away the dump items and haul some of the other stuff to the storage units. And I've already given it to a friend of mine once I'm done using it. So that's actually going away. The service trailer, that's actually going to wind up in the driveway because that's housing all of my contracting tools, well, a lot of them, not all of them. It's got table saws, miter saws, oxyacetylene torches, HVLP guns, wrenches, ratchets, my roller toolboxes. That's all going to wind up inside the shop shed when it's done. So until that's done, the service trailer is going to be in the driveway for me to use the tools that I need to get things done.
When do you expect that to be done, the show?
If weather all works with me, hopefully not that long. I mean, the wire for the MIG welder, it's not that expensive. It's like $10 a spool. The welding, I'm no professional welder. I'm not the fastest welder, especially not with MIG. If it was a arc welder, I could probably have it done a couple of days of good weather. The MIG welder, I'm slow with. I'm still learning the MIG welder. But I'm almost done with welding that first wall. And the only reason why that one's taking long is weather and the extra bracing for the window that will be in it. There's only one other wall that's going to take a long time, and that's the one that's going to have a window and a door. Due to the bracing, because you have to reinforce all your openings. You have to do headers. You have to brace the sides. It has to bear the weight of the door, the weight of the window. Sorry, I've been in contracting my whole life. So I have all the materials that are actually at the house. And like I mentioned in the last meeting, they were never supposed to come home until I was ready to build that. With the situation, the way that it happened over at my, the shop that I had.
It looked like you made some progress to me. I'm wondering how hard, and I'm speaking for myself, but not necessarily this, if you could, with you and your wife, sit down and take a look at the items you put on the paper here, which you made a pretty good list, and give us a timeline of what you figure is a reasonable time on each item. Is that?
To finish it, yeah,
Yeah.
a calendar day.
You know, what it does is it puts you under time constraints and it gives you some accountability. Would that something you and your wife could do?
Yeah, the only thing that would be in question, really in question, I mean, I can take care of everything outside of the fence itself within the next 60 to 90 days. 90 days just makes it a little easier, so I'm not hurting myself. 60 days, I can do it, but I'm rushing a lot of things. The fence, the only reason why that one's questionable is because Mr. and Mrs. Cragen are going to be putting a vinyl fence across one side. And then their daughter is going to be talking with her husband sometime over the next couple of days to find out if they're going to go with the actual property line or the current fence and curbing when they do their vinyl fence.
What I was hoping is if you could see if you could say in 2 weeks, I can have this item done. And in 4 weeks, have this item done. Because you've got a lot of items there and you've listed them. But maybe take item 1, we can have done in 2 weeks, item 2, 3 weeks, you know. And then run it out for 60 days. But tell us where you're going to be, because we want to work with you as best we can. And you apparently made some good progress, but I think if we put a time frame on it, it's going to be better for you and for us both.
Okay.
I think, I don't think any progress has been made. You're in violation. We've worked with you. Your plan was so generalized that it just doesn't, there's no way to check it and say, okay, you've done this. Okay, you've done this. Okay, you've done this. And in fact, I think that as I've watched it the last couple of weeks, I think it's actually worse today than it was when you appeared before the council 2 weeks ago. And this is what we're talking about. This is what Bob was talking about. We can't just say, okay, we're going to drag this out for 90 days. Because just a minute. We can't say that we're going to drag it out for 90 days and not see substantial progress. We're talking about it clearing out. We're talking about it looking like, so that your neighbors don't have to put up a fence to keep things on your side of the property.
Fence was never about that. That was
Well,
actually about. a
okay,
dispute between
okay,
me and
but-
Officer Cragen's.
All right, that's fine. But we want to see progress that's demonstratable and not a slight here and a little bit here and really accumulatively not much at all. We want to see this cleaned up. If this is one of the most egregious places in Ephraim, and it is, we want to see it cleaned up. It's been that way for 20 years.
You are completely off your rocker on that one. Because I have proof that it was actually being cleaned up until Dave died. And nothing was actually coming onto the property.
Okay, I'm not gonna
until the
argue,
last
I'm not gonna
month.
argue with you. What I'm saying is that you're in violation.
I have already admitted that. Did I not at the last hearing?
I listened to that last hearing, but
You're-
what I'm saying
You're
is that,
claiming that we're doing nothing.
no,
You just said-
basically, you're moving things around.
Let me talk, I'm a little
Please.
bit more reasonable than my
Please.
husband. He gets angry and I apologize. So as we explained to the council, the initial violation was on his parents. It was not on us.
Right.
The initial violation. We had nothing to do with it. We were cleaning out his parents' hoard when we started buying the house. I put a new roof on. I've been paying for the repairs of the house. So we had nothing to do with the initial situation here. This is new. We've currently started buying the house in 2020 when they started getting the complaints, his parents. We offered to buy the house and start fixing it up. My husband just within the first month of April lost his shop. He was illegally evicted from his shop.
Yep.
And we were having a situation. He had to bring everything somewhere. So we brought it to the house and we figured we'd figure out where to put it afterwards. That's why the house looks that way. And we actually have 2 neighbors willing to vouch for this
Yeah, I know all of those things,
and stuff.
but what we're saying is
And
that
we are
there's a
currently
reason.
Getting it cleaned up. And I know that there's a reason why there's a complaint, but it wasn't originally on us. It was on his parents. And we are currently dealing with the backlash from that, which we don't think is very fair. Because we're the ones doing all the cleaning. We're the ones, it's our funding to clean it. You guys aren't helping us fund it to clean it. We are funding it. And I'm a disabled person. As you can see, obviously, I don't spell very well and things like that. I am disabled. I am on disability. So it's my disability funding to clean up this property.
You can see it's been.
I have an aneurysm, a heart problem. And my husband's the only one capable of cleaning up the property because his mother is now confined to her room. She can't leave her room. She got sick with COVID and she has problems getting around. She is confined to a, one of those walker things in a wheelchair. She can go to the bathroom, to her bed. I currently am taking care of her as well. So a lot of my time and stuff that I shouldn't be doing and that can actually kill me, I'm actually
So,
helping
like I
him
said, those
to do,
pictures are
like
not
lifting
showing
and stuff to get this
everything
place
that's been
cleaned
done.
up.
So Rusty,
So
I'll
we're
have you come back
asking-
over here while she's talking.
So we're just asking for the time to get it cleaned up and stuff. And like he said, he just got a job because he lost his businesses because of the situation with his business to get it cleaned up. We're not saying that we're not in violation. We're not saying that the house is not in violation. We're just trying to get some leeway from the city that we live in to get it cleaned up.
Okay, how long have you lived there?
Since
Oh.
2020,
So
since we
that's-
started buying it
So that's
and cleaning
4
it up.
years.
Yeah, and only in the last month, it's looked this way since the 4 years we started cleaning up, and it was actually starting to look nice until he lost his place.
Okay, council, if I can make a suggestion
Please.
for consideration. With, Sunny Kelly, we did offer a dumpster. A possible resolution here that we can move forward would be a 30-day time frame. And at that time, we move forward with abatement. If you guys need a dumpster, we could reach out to the city manager and see if that's something that can be provided to help you come into compliance. But I think 30 days, given the state of the property with a dumpster, should be plenty of time to relocate the nuisance items. I don't know if you can reach out to your new employer. I know Mr. Borman, and see if he's got somewhere that he could help you out with.
Spoke with him already.
He has a yard. But that would be my
And
recommendation.
I'm great with 30 days. But I don't want to drag it out 90 days. That puts us into August. And then I can see a scenario where you don't have the time or the money again, and then we're into the fall, then we're into a winter, and then we're revisiting this a year from now. And that's what we're trying to avoid. We just, for safety reasons, it has to be cleaned up.
I just showed the other council member, and as you can see, it has made progress since the last meeting. I started building that fence. That actually looks good, and it will be painted. Carport's been cleaned out. It's got cabinetry inside of it. Some of the cabinetry that was in the driveway is now inside of the carport, housing tools and stuff like that, so that I can get more stuff out of the yard and put away.
I think the idea of a dumpster is a good thing though, because
Actually, I love
you
that.
may come to the point where you've got to get rid of more than you really want to at this point in time, whether it's selling it or getting rid of it entirely. That may be what's kind of moving on the horizon.
We actually have 3 storage units, by the way. I know my husband's been too, but the one unit is an outside unit that I actually just got to store,
That's well around the F-350.
so.
Did you fill a dumpster up?
When my dad passed away, yes.
Could you
But
now,
that was
do you have
after.
enough stuff to take to the dump, things that you've been talking about?
If I stop
Taking the
burning,
dump.
if I stop burning the stuff out of the backyard, yeah.
Yeah,
And like I said, I'm waiting for times to meet up with people for certain things to leave. Because I can only get certain locations for certain things. I can't just go put this in some farmer's field, otherwise I get a county violation.
Yeah.
I have to find an appropriate location to house certain things. And I have found some of those locations. Now I just need proper times to meet up with the individuals to get it done. We got the fifth wheel out within a few days of the last meeting, like we had said. The truck, like I said, I've got to trailer that because it's no longer registered and it smokes. It's
Why don't you have Randy Kiesel bring up one of those metal dumpsters and just start throwing it all in that metal dumpster?
Okay.
And all to get rid of the
See,
metal.
Randy doesn't pay anything.
No,
Larry
I'm
actually-
not, I don't say that you want money out of it. I say you get rid of it. If it's junk, get rid of it.
Yeah, instead of putting it in a pile and waiting for it to go, we can just throw it away, is what they're saying.
Well, the scrap metal, Larry actually gives me money.
And how long will it take him to get there and take it away?
He's coming over tomorrow, to pick up some of it.
Okay.
Uh,
So it's, I mean, it sounds like you've got, the
Yeah.
plan is in place. The plan, your intentions, it's just now, we've put, a goal really isn't a goal unless there's some kind of a time part of it, right? A SMART goal, the T is time. And so that's what is missing on your plan. There's no time, and that's what we're afraid of. That's what concerns us, as the mayor's mentioned.
Well, I'm trying not to put too much in the plan, because I know if there's a lot of reading in a plan for this kind of situation, you guys usually don't want to go through and get every little detail. So I was trying to sum it up so that you didn't have to do a lot of reading and it made sense. And stuff, because I've done a lot of court papers and things like that, and I know they just want the gist of what's going on and what you're doing.
Thanks for doing that. As Councilman Stevens mentioned, I think we've got those pieces of it,
Yeah.
what the steps you're going to take. Just next to them, a
And
date no longer than 30 days out would be good.
to be honest, I'm just
Redo the
frustrated at you
plan
guys
with,
about the whole
like,
property
time
things
on-
and stuff, because this isn't what I wanted at all. This is my husband's stuff. It's not even mine, and his mother's stuff, and I've been fighting with both of them to get this stuff cleaned up.
So we're
And so
giving,
that's mine, yeah, that's my frustration, and the only reason why the stuff has gotten done, and he will admit it, what has gotten done is because I pushed him to get it done.
That's
So,
a down line. That's a good one.
we're gonna push him a little bit
yeah, so
faster.
I do apologize, for all of this, because like you guys, I was brought in to the mess of his mother and his father's hoard, and then his business hoard. If that makes sense. And, so and like I said, I'm the one funding it all to get it moved and cleaned and things like that. So there's a lot of frustration there for me. So I am doing a lot of pushing on him to get it cleaned up. So that's why, yes, a dumpster I feel like would be great. And like he said, he feels like it would be great, and stuff. The scrap metal, fine, Larry can take it. He's usually really good about coming to our house and picking up metal. Hey, we got this appliance or whatever, can you come get it? And stuff, but as far as, there's a lot of burning and stuff items that we could just be putting in the dumpster and getting rid of a lot quicker.
So where do we stand? We get a dumpster there and do it?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. The other items, like I said, he got a job, so we should be having the funding here. I don't know how Mr. Foreman pays his employees. But we should have the funding here gas funding to take our stuff into storage, like the, tool boxes and stuff, into storage and things like that. So there's a reason why I got the storage units, because there's just some things he's like, his mother doesn't want to let go.
And one thing I do think you're gonna have to come to a point
Yeah.
is what can be thrown.
And that's where
What can just be gone.
I've already told him I've had it and I want it all gone, but there are certain things apparently he says that's against the law too, and I can't do that either. So I can't just take his stuff and throw it away. So trust me, I have mentioned and he gets mad at me, but I'm married to him too, so I have to compromise with him to where I'm not always being screamed at for things.
As part of help with abatement, we can look into providing a 12-yard dumpster, one of the big long ones like they've got over at the college, that we do use for spring cleanup. I also think it might be appropriate to talk to some of our youth groups in the community. I'm sure there's some 12 to 16-year-old boys that would love to go haul stuff, and we could get out there on an evening, get one of them out there on an evening to just help schlep.
Well, we can't mandate that.
We can't mandate that, but we could make a call.
And it's got to be, they cannot be the ones to decide what stays. They've got to, it's, you know,
Because it's their property. Yeah.
We've
I
had
don't
a lot
want
of
to-
offers from neighbors that have offered to come over and help me stand up the walls and help me lift the heavy stuff.
Yeah, and we have been taking it.
So, yes.
Yeah, yeah, and that's
I've
what a
got
lot
it
of the
welded
metal
together,
material
and I've got
around, which we
offers
didn't
from
do.
multiple neighbors to come lift the walls into location so that they can be welded together.
and if you got some of it taken out, put away, you'd be able to work on that project
Yeah, that's
right
why
now
we're getting
without
that.
working around all the other.
Yeah, and we have moved
stuff
some of
that
the
could just be
buildings,
thrown away.
As I said, we would stack it up nicely. We have done that. We've cleaned up a lot of the garbage and stuff in the backyard that was accumulated from his parents. We haven't gotten to that point yet. When all this was going on. But we got that cleaned up and started stacking it nicely, and we're just bringing out what we need as we're working on it for the shed. And stuff, and right now, like I said, our main thing is to get the toolboxes off our driveway. I know that the truck, the purple truck, that was his dad's. The old classic truck, that's gonna go in our driveway as soon as there's space.
All it needs is a starter.
Yeah, and we're gonna push it up into our driveway until we can deal with that. And I understand his sentimental with that.
I had the starter, but when they locked me out of the shop, I lost it. Brand new, sitting in the box, waiting to go into the truck.
So,
Mayor, I think,
we are working on it.
a few of us at least with this very document, if we just went through each of these 12 to 14 line items and said, this is the date, so moving the 350 Ford truck with the fifth wheel trailer into storage
That's the.
by,
And that's our,
you know,
the fifth wheel,
Except 350 needs to move, the trailer's
the
already.
trailer's gone.
sorry, I was using it as an example,
Yeah.
going through each of these systematically
Mhm.
until it's done and what, almost reverse order, what remains on the property, the fence, the vehicles, the swing set, the trampoline. I mean, we don't want to mandate all of that, but just kind of to give us, you know, get rid
Well,
of
the
all this
swing
and.
sets are kids' swing
Right.
set. We don't have, it's
I-
not
I-
there to lure children into our yard. We actually have kids and
Right, then.
and we're
That's
actually
fine
gonna
that you
move
would.
it over a little bit, so.
I think in general, the general thing is that within 2 weeks, 50% is dealt with.
Okay.
And then another 2 weeks, that's a month, the other 50%. And that kind of gives you an idea of what you need to shoot for. But, you know, we've got to be serious about this.
Oh, I'm serious.
And I think you've worked hard, but I think time is becoming more limited.
Yeah.
For you, especially because you're gonna
Got a
be
job.
going to work, full time. And so,
Well, the nice thing about his new job is he's only working from like 8 to 5, so he still has the rest of the night to do cleaning and
And Mr.
everything.
Foreman's working with me quite well.
Yeah, and so
he
it's a pretty
understands.
flexible job. He did that on purpose so that we would be able to still clean up the house and still get the funding to clean up the house. Right now, it's just my funding and it's really hard for me to afford the roof payment, the mortgage payment and everything else on the house and try and do what all needs to be done to get it cleaned up on one person's income, especially with being on disability. We don't get paid.
No, I think Lucy did, she was in the shop.
Yeah.
The income that I had went away.
He actually lost a bunch of income from losing that shop as well too,
so council members, are we okay to put this in abeyance for 2 weeks? And we review it in 2 weeks. We'll have pictures, we'll review it, but kind of that mode of 50% in the next 2 weeks. And then 50% in the 2 weeks after that. Because I mean, and I appreciate the fact that you've listed some things in the letter that you sent us, but things come up, flat tires occur. And so even though we're going to move this, and we're going to move this, and we're going to move this, things come up. Therefore, if we say, okay, there's a 50% improvement, and that's a little subjective, but if we can see it, 50% is not a small thing, then we can go, okay, all right, you're making substantial progress. And then 50%, and then in 30 days, this is done. But if you need, you know, the dumpster, okay, we'll pitch in. Well, Sean?
So
That
I'm
would be
told
the
we
only
can get a
thing I would
dumpster, it's
think
about
of.
$400 to dump it, depending on the weight. But if the council will authorize me to expend those funds, I'm happy to do it.
Council, are you okay with that?
If it can get filled up, you got a park with enough stuff to make it worth our while to park it there.
Your neighbors could also help fill it up as
Yeah.
well. I mean,
Yeah.
That whole neighborhood.
Yeah, we had a dumpster in our neighborhood and the weight did make it substantially more expensive. But hopefully it's $400.
We will,
Because if we're talking scrap metal and stuff.
Would you talk with,
Throwing the scrap metal in there.
No,
Technically, you're not allowed to do.
so it's, mostly, the garbage that's on our property is like cardboard boxes.
Yeah,
and,
get rid of all of that.
Cardboard boxes and like wood, like tree branches
Yeah,
and things like that.
technically, that's actually,
what it
no,
is.
you're not supposed to put metal into your regular garbage.
It's not like garbage bags and stuff no, it's like wood, like building material wood and that didn't get used and like, trimming the tree branch, because we've recently trimmed some of our bushes out front and things like that. Like the, cardboard boxes from like, food items. and
Well, we've
things
got to
like
see
that.
some of these bigger items that I see here. That's got to go. Some of that big stuff. a lot.
Most of it is already gone. In fact, we've already moved like 4 trailers off. So most of it is already gone of the bigger items. Yeah, the toolboxes will be leaving. I'm making sure.
so let me ask you then,
Right.
I want to make sure that a trailer is going to help.
Just it'll be significant.
That's
Yeah,
what
not a trailer, a dumpster, yes.
dumpster, is that going to help?
Yes,
That will
that will
actually
help.
help out with a lot of things being dealt with.
And-
I don't know if we need that size.
Because our burning and stuff
Um,
takes time away from whatever
that
we
sounds
do, 'cause we have to. sit
They're
there and
almost
watch
done
the
with the
fire.
burning season, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
Not yet.
2 more weeks.
2 more weeks.
So the dumpster would actually help a lot, I feel like. From my perspective in dealing through this, I would like the dumpster.
I think they would like- Your neighbors would like that better,
I
probably
think
than
too.
burning.
I think so.
Actually, the neighbors like the smell of it, but
They don't-
it takes up most of my day watching the barrel because I can't just
Yeah,
walk
so
away.
let's get it in the dumpster and get it out of there.
Mayor, I will have a dumpster. We'll work with this couple to have a dumpster out there as soon as we can.
Talk with Gary.
Yeah.
About a tipping fee because we're allowed 2 a year.
Okay.
And
Well,
so-
Gary and I are good friends at this
I-
point, so
yeah.
we'll
And Sean, let's have a date, of course, I mean, that it's there for 5 days, or it's there for,
yeah, so what we'll do is we'll set it up. I don't know how quickly we can get one logistically down, so we'll make those calls and get that set up, so it's on the.
Okay, is that?
Yeah.
Will that help?
Yes,
Okay. Are you clear in what our expectations are?
I am. I'm all about him. I am.
Okay, so we'll revisit this again. As I said, the violation is in abeyance, which means it's on hold. So we'll revisit this again in 2 weeks. But we're serious about this. It's gotta be done.
I'm serious too, and he knows it. Like I said, I've been writing him and he'll tell you.
Okay,
Mayor, can I add?
Please,
to
please.
this, just for the level of what the next step might be, and for Chief Siemens' preference. We're in abeyance for 2 weeks. If it's not cleaned up in 2 weeks, then we're free to issue citations.
Yes, sir.
and move forward with
Yep.
that process.
We said 2 weeks and then that'd
Well,
be
if,
50%.
if nothing happens, if that 50% doesn't happen in 2 weeks, then we issue the violation.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
And thank you for hearing me out. I'm sorry I got frustrated.
No, all right. Okay, moving on to item 3, the approval of the May 13th, 2024 warrant registers. Any questions about the warrant register?
You skipped over.
Did you skip 2?
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Gave Ryan a heart attack.
Wait until the end.
Okay, moving on to item 2, Ephraim City Resolution 24-08 parameters resolution, Brian Kimball.
Brian, go easy on it. I don't know that I called a heart attack if you skipped over the celebration instead.
Yes.
No, mostly, a little bit of background. So we talked about this in the work meeting. A little bit of background. This is for a loan, $500,000 loan for the drinking water project, our new well outside of town. I want to give you just a little bit of background. Some of the council members are new. I want to give you just a little bit of background of what we've done to get to this point. So this started really 10 years ago. We were looking for water rights. We were looking for the future. We purchased an old irrigation well from Rex Nelson and the land that came with it, and with the goal of eventually turning it into a city well. That was nearly 10 years ago with that. So since then, we started the first phase of the well, which was to take that old ag well and convert it to a municipal drinking water well. There's certain requirements you have to meet. We had to redo the seal at the surface, so we have less chance of surface contamination. We had to, do a number of things, jump through a number of hoops for that. We got a $1.2 million grant from ARPA, part of the COVID funding that we did for infrastructure. And we were able to do the first phase of that, which was convert the well, get a single connection. We've been really worried about water these last 5 years or so, 7 years.
290 years.
Right, 290 years. It's not an ongoing battle, just gotta make sure that we have water for our residents. So we were able to get that first phase in, and with that first phase, we got a single connection. That single connection gives us right around 500 gallons a day. That's 700,000 gallons a day that we were added with that first phase of that. So this next phase, we got a $2.5 million grant, actually $2 million grant from the Corps of Engineers that was required for us to get a 25% match for that. So we went to the state and got a loan And that's what this is tonight. So it's parameters resolution. It spells out the terms of that loan, it can be sold for bonds, municipal bonds. So the terms of the loan is a $500,000 loan. It is 1%, 20 years. The language has a little bit of buffer in that, so in case we have some overruns, we won't have to come back and we'll public hearing again. So there's some not to exceed figures in the actual resolution. All told, over the last 10 years, if you add up all the effort we put into it, 10 years and roughly $8 million, we've been able to do this so far, this project, without raising the water rates at all. So we feel like that's a pretty significant accomplishment. It's taken a long time to get there, but to take on an $8 million project and not have to raise the rates to do it is substantial. We're able to work out some seller financing terms for the water rights. We're able to get grants and then multiple grants and apply for that. So all told, when this project is done, this will be the second phase. We're adding multiple connections in. Really, that takes it from about 700,000 gallons a day up to, we're really confident in close to 2 million. And if the conditions work out just right, maybe close to 3 million gallons a day out of this well.
That is incredible.
That's
So
a lot of water.
we're gonna more than double for sure with this next phase, and possibly 4 times the output that we have currently by the time we're done. So we're pretty excited about that.
Is this the last phase? Is this the, I mean,
Last phase of this
of
well.
our expectation of that well,
This well.
and then it's just maintenance?
So what we're doing, we've had some issues to work through as far as pressure zones. We're getting further out into the valley and the pressures increase. So we've had to go back and redesign some of our original designs in there to account for pressure zones. That took up some additional cost in order to deal with that. We have to get water up to the pressure zone and turn around and run water backwards. All told, we had issues with inflation and trying to put projects together and still keep projects viable, even though a significant amount of our spending power was reduced due to inflation and all that stuff. So a lot of pieces have gone into this with a lot of blood, sweat, and tears going into this project from Jeff and city management and things like that. So just a little bit of background on that. One last piece of this is parameters resolution. We're going to come back for a public hearing, which would be the final step, and we're going to get qualifying and be able to close on the loan with the state. We're waiting on the final sign off for the environmental assessment from the Corps of Engineers. We have weekly meetings with them to keep progress going. That's been a challenge to work with them. We've had significant turnover on their end, which is every time they turn over, it costs us about 6 months in our project while we get the new people up to speed. So we were hoping to get this done before now, but we're getting it done now and we're moving forward. So just working through all the challenges on that. So you'll see one more meeting on this public hearing, and then that'll be the last piece, and then we'll start construction. Probably best case scenario would be mid-June. We still have some final pieces to put together. And then it'll go in summer and fall. We have construction deadline, completion date of end of October for this project. So
Brian, public hearing would be on the June 5th meeting,
June 5th.
June 19th, I think you can.
Yeah, it's, if you read through the pages, it's the dates listed in there.
I read through some of it.
Well, it's a casual reading.
I know, I
Having a hard time sleeping.
thought I found a typo, but I think it's just the read.
Many trees were killed during the report.
And most of that is just the boilerplate language that they make us in order to spell out the terms of the
With the
bonds.
Corps of Engineers, yeah.
Yeah, so. Any questions?
$500,000, you said 500,000.
This loan is for $500,000.
And it's 10 years at 1%,
20 years.
20 years.
So our annual payment's gonna be approximately $28,000 a year.
So just for fun, on page 70 or page 30, if you're looking at the bigger number, it's 30. I was trying to be good and read through this, and it was just really, really bad, I think.
Was above your pay grade?
Yeah.
I read every word.
It's section 5.6. Maybe not worth it, sorry guys, but. Yeah, this is page 70,
70 on the top of the page.
30 and 70. So that last paragraph there under section 5.6, thanks, Sean. And again, sorry, I'm taking time to do this, but I honestly was just trying to understand, just down a little bit.
Second, I'm trying to share for the folks who.
Oh, great. So it says observance of laws and regulations, permits, licenses, and claims. And again, this is just a piece of this larger covenants and undertakings and Article 5. I don't know if this is a typo, I'm trying to read the whole thing. The issuer will well and truly keep, observe, and perform all valid and lawful obligations or orders or regulations. Now, I'm getting confused again. Let's see.
Yeah, you gotta keep your finger on it.
As a condition of,
Now and hereafter.
sorry, I'm just skipping down to as a condition of the continued enjoyment of any and every right. Is this talking about? This is boilerplate language, I guess. This is not something that is any different than any other.
This is boilerplate that was provided by our bond attorney that we hired to help us navigate the requirements of the state for this.
This is the legalese that the lawyers put in that only they can understand, so that we have to hire an attorney to be able to understand it.
Right, Daniel?
Right, gotta keep ourselves employed.
This is all standard, right? I mean, as I looked through it, I think this is standard. I mean,
So the only thing
should I
that's
have not looked at it? I don't know. I was just trying to.
The only thing that's really different in the language is we've asked them for the option, which they don't normally do, in order to not raise our water rates for our customers to take this loan on. They wanted us to raise the rates $12 a month per household. We said, we don't want to do that. We want to keep prices low. Said, okay, there's a clause that, you know, you can prepay 2 years worth of payments and put that in an escrow deposit account, and then we'll let you not raise the rates. So really, that's the main change, other than just the terms of our loan and specific Ephraim city that is different than boilerplate. But that's something that we requested so that we can, you know, not raise the rates on residents with this round. We've got other water projects that we're still working on funding packages for.
Okay. Thanks. Sorry for the sidebars. Sure was.
Really, as I heard what you read, it says we agree to comply with applicable laws.
Well, I think that's for the issuer, which is the bond issuer, not the city.
Yeah.
Any other questions, council members?
Nope.
Okay, like,
Okay, I'll make a motion to adopt ECR 24-08, a resolution authorizing the issuance of parity water revenue bonds of Ephraim City in Santee County, Utah, and calling a public hearing to be held at 6 p.m. on June 19, 2024 at 5 South Main, Ephraim, Utah, in the City Council chambers for the public hearing to receive input from the public with respect to the issuance of bonds and any potential economic impact to the private sector from the construction of the project to be funded by the bonds, providing for a pledge of water revenues for the payment of the bonds, fixing the maximum principal amount of the bond, the maximum number of years over which the bonds may mature, the maximum interest rates which the bonds may bear, providing for the running of a contest period and related matters.
motion made by Councilmember Stevens, second by Councilmember Bill, all in favor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would you repeat that?
That was,
Repeat it.
that was an essay.
Just run off the top of your head, right?
Such a great, they can destroy for it.
Okay, it passes unanimously. All right, so there you go, Brian.
Thanks.
All right, now moving on to item 3, approval of the May 13th, 2024 warrant register. Any questions on the warrant register?
My motion. Oh, are you looking for one?
Sure.
Sorry to preempt it. I motion that we approve the May 13th, 2024 warrant register.
Second.
Motion made by Councilmember Beal, second by Councilmember Anderson, all in favor.
Yes.
Yes.
Moving on to item 5, fiscal year 25.
City council meeting.
Moving on to item 4, approval. Approval, I'm just trying to beat your thing, Marty. She held a city council meeting 13 minutes one night. Moving on to item 5, approval of the May 1st, 2024 city council meeting minutes. Any questions regarding the minutes?
I didn't get this to you in time, but on the reports, there's a couple of sections that kind of end with and.
On mine, it has the library's doing well and
Oh.
So just take out the and put a period there. I think on most of them.
on Genesis, the planning's going well and on Scandinavian Festival.
Okay.
I should have messaged you earlier too.
I didn't catch it in time, so just before.
I'm just glad you caught it, because I don't want to see somebody 20 years from now going,
And
What's that report about?
yeah.
Okay, looking for motion?
I move that we accept and approve the minutes with those couple of amendments, edits of May 1st, 2024. City
Second.
Council.
Motion made by Councilmember Norfelt, second by Councilmember Stevens, all in favor.
Yes.
Yes.
Moving on to item 5, fiscal year budget discussion, fiscal year 25 budget discussion.
This is for me, and let me get this again shared with the community. Just as a quick aside, we have 4 YouTube subscribers to our channel last 2 weeks, so we're moving up in popularity. So John and I have been sitting down, and we wanted to make sure we could explain the budget at a Sean Lewis 5th grade level. And so this is helping me to understand the budget, and I hope we're giving you some highlights so that you can understand the budget. And for those that are watching online or the news media, that we can explain the budget in a simple, easy to understand way. You've been given a copy of a proposed budget, and we want to make sure that you've got that, and that's okay. You got that last week, if I recall correctly. And so let's see if I can go here. So we want to talk about the fiscal year 2024. I've way oversimplified this. There's a lot of nuance that specifically Commissioner Nordfeld or Commissioner Stevens or Councilmember Bill that you guys will get in the nuance and all this. I'm way oversimplifying. So please take this with what it's intended. The beginning general fund allotment that was passed last year was 4.169 million. We have expended 4.515 million in expenditures, and we have collected 4.5 million in revenue. And the simple math on that is, and again, this is the general fund. This does not include the water, the power, sewer. We've got 37 different funds. We're just talking about the general fund here. So the grand scheme of that is we are projected right now as of April 30th that we are 15,000 down revenue versus expenses. Now, this matters in the sense that we want to make sure that our revenue meets our expenditures. We are required by law to have a balanced budget. So this is where we get fund transfers and stuff coming back and forth to make up surpluses or shortfalls in an oversimplified way. When we talk about reserve funds, the state mandates that the cities maintain reserves of 5 to 35% of the general fund. So our current general fund reserve balance is at 28.52%, which is a cash value of $531,000. That's a reserve fund on our budget, a line item that you can see as a reserve fund. However, we have the capital project fund, which has a balance of $2.693 million. And when we have overages or underages, that's the fund that we transfer in and out of, right? So if our revenue is above our expenditures, then we would put money into the capital project fund so that we maintain that general fund reserve balance at that 5 to 35%. We try to be on the high end of that. If we are below, if our expenditures are higher than our revenues, then we would take from the capital project fund to make up that shortfall. Because again, at the end of the year, we have to have a balanced budget. Everybody with me on that? And then we have the city investment fund. Now, these are funds that the city invests with the state treasurer's fund that returns. These are invested in markets and such, and we can provide breakdowns for that. That gets returns. Currently, we get monthly return rates from the state on this. Our current monthly rate is 5.4469% of return that we're getting, but the total city investment fund has a value of $11,984,000. So what the grand result of this is we are healthy. We have funds in reserve. We meet our general fund reserve balance. We have funds that we can take from or add to, but we want to be careful because if we are taking from the capital improvement fund or the capital project fund, think of that. A real oversimplification is taking from your savings account and putting it in your checking account to pay bills. Eventually the savings account dwindles, right? And that's what we want to avoid.
And we have done that the last 3 years.
I will get to that in just a moment. So our fiscal year 2024 capital projects, we have total project expenses of $1.19 million. And this has included the Canyon Road sidewalks, the improvements to the Hanson House, a copier for City Hall, some restroom repair, parks, lawnmower, sidewalks that we've done, curb gutter repair. All these little projects come out of the capital projects position that we have. John handed out to you at the last meeting and in tonight's meeting, you've seen this document, which is our capital improvement list. And the idea behind this is that we try to put out into 5 years into the future what projects we want to fund. You'll notice that in fiscal year 25, we have $20 million worth of projects that need to happen, but we do not have $20 million worth of money to provide that. Over the 5-year cost of total projects, we've identified $53 million worth of projects over the next 5 years that need to happen. Now, this is everything from vehicles to intersection lights, public works yard, the dump bed for trucks, new mowers, struts for the fire department, everything over $5,000 that we spend money on gets put into this capital project list. Some of these things will be paid for with grants. Some of these things will be paid for in other ways. We're just trying to identify the projects and prioritize year from year. So we could say, we've got this money to spend, we'll spend that much money, and this is what we'll do with it. And we're trying, John and I really want to get to a place where for the council, we're looking more than just 1 year budget at a time, right? We have to pass a budget annually, but we want to be looking into the future on how we use the residents' money that we get. This is the revenue minus expenses fund transfer that we mentioned, right? So when we transfer from one account to the other, if revenue does not meet expenses, this is where we're at. So in 2019, we transferred 723,000. In 2020, we did 100,000. In 21, we literally broke even. 500,000 in 2022. 2023 is 0, and we'll probably have a transfer to close out 2024. But we're neck and neck on being 0 or having a transfer.
That's the 15,000 current.
That's the 15,000 that we're looking at. Okay. It gets a little bit more nuanced than that, and we'll go into that. As we talk about taxes, this is some information I had John pull down for me last fall. This is tax rates that are provided that this residents of each city pays within Sanpete County. You'll notice that Ephraim is currently 5th highest tax rate. I love to see this because when people tell us that the residents of Ephraim pay the highest taxes in the county? No, they don't, and it's not even close. We pay on a $332,000 residential value home. That resident will pay $191.55, $191.55 per year. That's an annual total of what Ephraim gets from property tax. Remember, when you're looking at your property tax statement that comes in, that property tax statement for that home probably has $2,000 worth of taxes on it. Most of it for schools, there's mosquito abatement, there's all these taxing entities that get put onto that. Ephraim's share is $191. For contrast, Moroni on that same house is paying $309 per year to the city of Moroni. Okay. So when we put this in real dollars for what our residents are paying, you'll see this. Now, just a quick primer about how taxes work. If your residential value is $332,000, the state knocks off 55% because it's a primary residence. So you're only taxed on that 55% number, which in this case would be $182,600. Okay, and then we apply that to the tax rate that we go. When we talk about the taxes, we don't talk about the rate, we talk about the revenue. We maintain our revenue, and if we need more revenue, then we propose a budget for more revenue, and the rate gets changed to match that revenue projection. Does that make sense? I want to make sure everybody's with me still. So when we get into truth and taxation, this is what we're looking at. Ephraim City last year took in $298,240 in property taxes as a whole. If the council were to choose to increase taxes, now forgive these numbers because this is Sean back of the napkin math using my calculator. I didn't run these numbers by John, so if my calculator broke it, remember I went to Utah Public Schools, so keep that in mind.
You had a good education.
Except
We
in
get a
math.
good education.
Except in math. Maybe that was the Idaho portion of my education that the math screwed up.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Mr. Good gave me a really good math education.
A 5% increase would bring in an extra $20,000. A 10% increase would bring in an extra $30,000. A 50% increase, what you can see those numbers there, right? So that's what we're talking about when we talk about a percentage increase for increased property tax revenue for the city. Remember that the city works on a three-legged stool: property taxes, sales taxes, and fees to fund the city. Property taxes are the smallest of that budget. Sales
I'm always
taxes,
amazed to look at it and think, is that all we get from property tax?
that is all we
It is.
get. And sales taxes, this is why I'm huge on bringing more business and more industry, because we get a much bigger bang for our buck in bringing sales tax in than we do for property taxes. It's just the reality of how it works. Okay. Putting this in terms for the residents. If you have a house that's valued at $400,000, your current tax, that 55% of the market value, is $224 per year. Okay.
For Ephraim City.
For Ephraim City. For Ephraim City. If we were to propose an increase at these levels, this is what you would see. So a 5% increase on a $400,000 home would be about $11 per year. Okay. We get up to the 336 if we were to do a 50% increase. I want to go back to this slide because I want to point out to you, and I know that it's not apples to apples because I didn't use this 332, but if we look at between Ephraim and Gunnison, we've got a long way to go on this house, this $332,000 house, to go from 191 to 275 on a percentage rate. We could actually raise our taxes quite a bit and still be the fifth, maintain our place as the fifth highest tax rate in the county. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm getting a question from you, Mayor.
No.
Okay,
No,
this is all clear.
Yeah.
Okay. Now.
I normally look that way.
Okay.
That's just me.
And that's the end. So what I really want to get to with this presentation and this discussion is, in 2 weeks at our June 5th meeting, we're going to have a public hearing on a budget. And in order to do the truth and taxation, we kind of have to know, do you want us to provide that budget at the current property tax level? Or do you want us to prepare that budget for the public to be at one of these higher percentages, whatever that looks like, right? We kind of need to know because we have to present that budget in advance of the public hearing so that we can work out the numbers and know exactly what we're doing. So that's why we put this on the consent items tonight is I need to know where the council is at with this type of information. Is doing the truth in taxation and is the revenue that we would get from a percentage increase worth going down this process? John, I don't want to invite John. Do you have any comments or anything on that you need me to add?
No, not really. I mean, like you said, those are just kind of rough numbers. There's a, a growth that's built into that amount. So the amount that each resident would pay to pick on what that growth is, would be less than what's showing up there. I would imagine it's gonna be less than that just because we're still seeing growth. So.
Yeah, and remember the tax rate does not take into account new growth. New growth pays its own thing until it's broken in. We saw the video at the first of the year that talks about how that works. So new growth pays its own way. The tax rate, the idea is that the rate is changed, new growth comes in, everybody else pays less because we have more people sharing that burden.
At a 10% tax increase,
Mhm.
how much additional money will that bring into the city as near as you can project it?
So using the back of the napkin math, a 10% increase would bring in 40,000 extra dollars.
My initial thought on that, as Councilmember Stevens is talking about, I love where we're ranked among the other cities. I don't know that most residents will see that information, have access to that information, or even care, but I love that. And my initial thought is 50% is too high. Doing nothing is
Too low.
too low. 1986 or whatever it was. I think 10% when Councilmember Stevens said 10%. That was kind of where I was at. This is just, first thought, but.
And yet, were you gonna say something?
Well, and that was just for a reference for me.
For
I don't-
$40,000, whatever that we'd get.
I don't know as 10% is enough. I think it needs to be closer to maybe 20. Or now, when we do a truth in taxation, Sean, help me with this. If we say we want to do a 10% every year for the next 5 years, do we do that every year?
Yes, you do. You do.
Every year.
So what we have to do is we have to have a public hearing and we say, we have to put out notices. This is a whole process. What we would do is we'd hold a public hearing on a proposed budget and we would say, we want our proposed budget to show a 10% increase, right? And John would prepare that proposed budget. We would
Based
bring
on
it
that.
based on that 10% figure. We would bring that to the council and the council would hold a public hearing. The working plan right now is that we will hold a public hearing on the budget on the June 5th meeting with adoption scheduled for the June 19th meeting. And the reason we set it up this way, and you guys can change this is your meetings, but the reason I propose we do it this way is so that we have the public hearing, we can get the comments from the public, and then have 2 weeks to mull on it and make changes based on those public comments that we receive. If there's something that needs to change, we've got some time to do that. We have to have a budget passed before June 30th. And you have 2 meetings to do that from today unless we call a special meeting. Now, to answer your question, Lloyd, is once we say we want to do this and this is the budget we're going to pass, we also have to pass a resolution or notify the state that we are rejecting the certified tax rate that the county is providing and that the state is providing, and that we're going to hold a hearing. That puts us, we pass the budget as is. We then would hold another hearing in August to formally ratify that tax increase, which would then go into place on the November tax bill that people get. Okay, and so we would start collecting that in November, barring any referendum or appeal of these decisions.
Interesting.
Well,
And I'd love to even hear from Bob or Tyra. I don't know what protocol allows for that kind of thing.
This is not a hearing, but it's your meeting.
That'll be in the public hearing.
The thing that I am struck by with this is, let's say that we do a 10%. And it amounts to, what were you saying, Sean?
About $40,000.
$40,000 on our budget. Gosh, I think we can save. I think we can cut out $40,000 in our budget. I mean, we've done that before. We did it in 2012 and 13. I'm just not convinced that a 10%, even a 20% rate is good for our residents or good for our city. I think, now I mean, you guys you have your own opinions on this. But I'm thinking of all of the residents that we have in this city that are on an unlimited fixed income and $20 a month.
No, not $20 a month.
No, I know.
It'll be $2.
Even $2 a month. I wonder if we can't sharpen our pencils a little bit more.
Okay.
And I don't know.
I think we need to do something. I don't know how much. I think 5 to 10%. We haven't done it in 40 years, no, 86. How, John, what's that?
38.
38.
You're the math
Go,
man.
Dennis.
But we
Thank you for
need,
not asking me.
we need to take some, I think, some increments a little bit all along. And $2 or $3 a month to some is a heck of a lot. I'm personally willing to pay it, but I know there's some that will struggle with it.
Well, with the inflation that we've
That's been
had,
the problem. Is
The
the
last-
amount of inflation that doesn't seem to be slowing down.
with the amount of inflation that we've had, and that has affected us as a city and running every department in this city. But like has been said, our largest tax increase is growing businesses.
Our
It's-
largest revenue.
Correct,
increase.
correct. It's business growth, it's residential growth. This is actually, I don't want to say it's inconsequential, but it's not the greatest way, the greatest avenue, and that's why we haven't done anything since '86. It's not our greatest way to grow our city budget and to meet our needs. The greatest way is businesses and residential and different services.
I
So
mean,
And then
go ahead, Martin. You have
last
something.
question too is, what's the county's plan this year? What's the school district's plan this
We
year?
can't, yeah,
You know, because all the CARES funding that school districts got are gonna be gone now, and all I'm saying is we contribute, say both those entities contribute, then it is quite a bit more on a tax burden. You know what I mean?
If we, let's say we say, let's work for John to figure 10%. If we have a public hearing and decide it's not the best district, we can reject it and it doesn't matter. But if it's
Yes.
not on the board, we can't discuss it.
exactly.
I think we ought to put something on the board so we can discuss it. Here
What
it is.
I don't want to see happen is that we sharpen our pencils like we've done. And we continue to do that, and then we get to a point where we're gonna have to make a significant increase.
Right, that's true.
Right.
it's the rubber band effect.
Yeah, and that really will kill people. If
And
we
that-
do a little bit at a time, it's easier to, and people's cost of living, even social security, right? Even though on fixed incomes, they got a pretty good raise this
3.5%.
this past year, actually. And they'll continue to get that little bit of cost of living. And we won't be taking up all of that. We'll be taking up a little bit, which will allow us to better run a city, with that increased inflation.
If I could add to the conversation, This is why we talked about in our retreat, maintaining the rate every year rather than letting it drop down, just to give us a little bit of extra, doing the truth and taxation process where we're doing a 0.5% increase on the rate rather than a 5 or a 10 or a 15 or 20, doing that consistently so that we can incrementally improve this. But again, with our population, this doesn't add a whole lot. I agree with you, Mayor. But this is why I've advocated for economic development and why we brought you the presentation for like the Placer AI software that would help us recruit companies that would bring in sales tax revenue, which is a bigger driver, and provide services to our residents that can help us with that. As Cobblestone comes online, that will provide revenue for us. As the hospital comes online, that will provide revenue for us. So I want to paint the picture that we're not in dire straits, right? But it's one leg of the stool, and I wanted to make sure that the council was comfortable with what my and John's rough back of the napkin math would mean so that you can make an educated decision.
I appreciate Mayor's point too. $40,000 is something we could figure out. I mean, even in the Warren Register, it's often kind of a reactive thing, like, what was the, are we approving this? It's already been spent. Not criticizing anybody. And that even the decision to, next time we have a ULCT conference, let's just pick the spring or the fall one. And, so sharpening the pencil, or the expression that was used, I think that's all good. And doing that, having fewer Oreos at city council that I eat and those types of things. Over a year, we may save $40,000, but that may be painful, a painful $40,000. So I think that the 3 legs of a stool, or however many legs we're talking about, that was a good reminder. And I think Mayor Scott is right that there are some on a fixed income where this is just another kind of slap in the face. I also think there's many of us, me included, who expect that this would go up incrementally, just a little bit at a time. And the fact that it hasn't, it's awesome, but I'm not even appreciating that as a resident of this town. It's great, but I didn't know until getting on city council that it hasn't been going up. I would have assumed it would have gone up with the.
1986 is.
I spoke to some at that conference, some council members of other cities, they do this every year.
Yep.
They have a truth and taxation every year. They don't always raise rates. It's probably to do what you're talking about.
Here's the thing is the way the state requires us, and I think I've explained this before, maintaining the rate is a tax increase by definition and requires truth and taxation.
Yeah.
Because the idea is as new growth comes in, we maintain our budget, right? We have to attack the budget number and maintain our revenue. When we maintain the revenue of that 298,000, that gets spread across. When 10 new residents come in, that gets spread across, 10 new residents, and we drop the rate. So maintaining the rate, which is not, in theory, is a tax increase by definition, but is not really a tax increase because we're maintaining that same level. The math stays the same.
Us not doing it for
38
38 years, and the growth that we've seen, we've actually been reducing the rate
every year.
for 38 years.
I hadn't thought of that.
I think we ought to put it in, and then let's talk to the company. I'd love to get the residents' views next city council.
We get more than 2 here.
We will.
I think.
I'd love to get
We will.
The one thing that I want us all to understand is that this, how can I put this? This is a monster. This city, none of its employees, nothing like that, but our desire to fund well, maybe richly, can become a monster if we're not really careful. It can, and even though, and I appreciate what Sean has said, that we're actually, just diminishing a little bit, but we've been able to keep up with expansion of businesses and things like that. We just have to keep in our firm thinking to wrestle this monster every single budget season.
Yep.
Because if we don't, we will be, we'll be at the top.
All of a sudden
And,
in 1 year.
and my mother, who was, my mother was on, Social Security only. She received a check in 2008, once a month for $1,073. She had to pay her rent, groceries, utilities, and, vehicle transportation out of that $1,000 and $1,073. To her, $5, that meant a lot. We've got to keep this in mind. We've got to, and I've been very proactive with this truth and taxation and making sure that we keep up. But as I've thought about it the last 2 weeks, and as I've looked into some things with the other larger communities admittingly have done, we can get out of control. And we can say $2.50, that's not going to mean anything to anybody. But gosh, we've just got to be sensitive about this.
Mayor, can I invite John up to describe? He just sent me 2 charts that I want to allow him to describe because he'll do a better job of explaining it. Since he created. I apologize that the font's so slow. I just did it in a preview.
Yeah, so these weren't really set up for presenting yet, but since y'all were talking about it, I just sent them a shot. So what this is the orange line is, sales tax. The green line, kind of between the orange and the blue, is all other taxes. And then the light blue line at the bottom is what we're talking about right now, property tax. And so that's dollar amount. So it's, we already know it's not a significant revenue source for the city, and 10%, $40,000 is not a huge game changer for us. It does help. But you can see that sales tax is where it comes from. If you go to the next one, so this is the same information, just looking at a percentage. So you see that the percentage of the total taxes that we.
The last one was total dollars. This one is percentage.
Well, yeah. So this is a percentage. So the percentage of the total taxes, that sales tax, property tax, and then the other taxes that are in there. That's like prior year property taxes and some other taxes that are in there. So
And those are years on the bottom.
So obviously the sales tax, the orange line is the greater percentage, but you can see that the property tax over the total of the taxes has been declining.
Yeah.
You
As a percentage,
good or bad, I mean.
because of this very same thing that we're talking about.
So we're seeing sales tax increase, it also increases the percentage of the total. Property taxes, it pretty much maintains, it increases a little bit because of growth. But the percentage of the total property taxes has been declining. That's
Are
what this
impact
is.
fees the other taxes in that, or is that something different?
No impact fees are considered.
So there's some highway tax, some prior year property tax, some of those types of things.
But sales tax is far and away in numbers and percentage.
Sales tax is how we fund the city, which is why I really want, and I'll talk about this during the manager report, some of the things we've done. But we need to find, if we want to raise our revenue and raise our ability to pay for the things that our residents want, we need to bring in more business.
So the hotel, for example, I know it's a projection, it's an estimate, but let's say that it's built before next fiscal year. How much money do you think that would bring in that coming fiscal year? How much tax,
There's no way to, because it depends on the rates that they're charging.
No, I know, but just kind of an estimate of, are we talking? Because if we gouged some of our residents now to get 40 grand, and that hotel alone would get $20,000 worth of that, I don't think it would be that high, but maybe.
We don't have the data in front of us, but we could definitely bring in an anonymized, because I don't want to out businesses or anything, but we can show you what the top 10 businesses.
How stimulating economic growth in that way really is critical. Otherwise, somebody's going to have to come up with the.
So if you go back to the other one,
It shows the dollar amount. This isn't gonna tell us, but you can see that, you know, last, what, 5, 6 years, it's increased pretty dramatically. Part of that is due to inflation. So that's bad for people, right? But as costs increase, also sales tax increases, so that generates by default more revenue for us. But you see it's starting to kind of flatten the last 2 or 3 years. So.
Just interesting because I hear at least a lot of times, we don't need more businesses, we don't need more stores, we don't need more all of that thing. I also hear the opposite, we need more of that.
Yeah.
But from those who don't want growth, because they want to keep Ephraim how it is, and I think that's a very expensive wish. Right, you know, if you want to keep Ephraim how it was, it's going to be more and more expensive in your taxes in some ways, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to be, I don't know where Mayfield was on that list or some of those other, it wasn't Mayfield, but one of those towns above us, Moroni was really high. I think to understand that is really compelling, is really important, and I hope that can be a part of the conversation, not that we're trying to sell economic growth, but that is an important piece and it's not all bad.
Well, one business that I am aware of in Ephraim, I'm not gonna name the business, but it generates $1 million of that taxation alone, the one business alone. And so when we talk about economic growth within the city and attracting like another grocery store or other businesses, we've got to look at the potential of what that does to our budget and the potential of that we sort of relieve. We provide services through economic growth, but we also relieve a tax burden. You look at on this line 2000. You see the steep incline at 2000. There was a business that was added to Ephraim in the fall of 2000. And that's why you have a steady incline during that time to a peak. And then it's, you know, we've had economic downturns, but that's the importance of businesses.
Well, and if I could reiterate the importance of being a regional center, right?
Yeah.
Walmart, it's not just Ephraim residents that shop at Walmart, but Walmart, we collect in Ephraim the sales tax from Walmart. Now, there's a whole algorithm on how it gets distributed, 50% to the state, 50% to the city, whatever. We won't get into how all that works. But the end result is when somebody from Manti, Gunnison, Mount Pleasant comes and shops at Walmart, part of their money stays here. And that is money that is not being borne by the Ephraim residents, right? So the more regional style or other types of businesses that we can get here that serve a larger community, whether that be Sanpete County, the state of Utah, or nationally, like some of our bigger companies do, that sales tax stays here and does not become a burden on our residents, and we can maintain that quality of life that people want.
Like hotels, hospitals, because 99 is when Walmart opened.
2000.
2000.
But we're not mentioning.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so we're going to go.
Well, I mean, Lloyd's asking you, what do we do?
I like Lloyd's 10%, and then we can.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean we have to do anything.
I think that's how what we want is the residents' input, right? We want to know how they feel, so if it's, if 10% good enough.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from the council is prepare a budget for the next council meeting with a 10% truth and taxation increase.
And can we prepare one with just to keep from declining as well?
Well, it depends
That
on
would
the year.
require a truth and taxation, right? If we're gonna.
So for the public hearing, we can present options. But on the June 19th meeting, you have to adopt a budget, and that's really what matters. So we can present different options. The problem that we have is that the county is not obligated to give us our proposed certified tax rate until June 8th. And so we can't provide the exact numbers until the June 19th meeting. And that is the only meeting between June 8th and June 30th when we have to have a budget passed.
We can still pass a budget and then still do the truth in taxation and reject the rate and get that, and we'll just have.
Then we would have another hearing in August where we would adopt the final budget.
So when it comes to truth and taxation, if you say 10%, you know, if that's 340,000, you could go up to that point or anything below it.
Right. Yep. Good.
Okay,
Thank you for your time on that. I think it's an important discussion to have.
We're gonna come up with $20,000 of your budget to pick up that shortfall.
20,000 out of my budget?
Yes.
Okay.
all right, city council reports. We'll start with Councilmember Bill.
Thank you. I feel like I've spoken plenty. I went to story time at the library today. Actually, Michael's story time, you see Wednesdays at 11.
How was that?
It was me and my 5-year-old and my 2 3-year-olds, and he was really cute with the kids. We read The Giving Tree. Anyway, they're doing such a great job over there. Youth City Council is going well. Julie, sorry, both Arnoldsons there, but she gave me an update, and they're getting really excited for Scandinavian festival, with Scandinavian Days, as she says it. But she says she's checking with the city about planting a tree. We talked about a date for swearing in next year's council, possibly June 19th. We'll award the Presidential Service Awards at the swearing in.
Yes, yeah.
So I don't know, Sean, if that's on your radar.
Might be not enough seats for you then. And the budget,
Sorry, John, or
Budget hearing on the 5th, adoption of the budget on the 19th.
So we'll talk.
Okay.
And the wrap tax thing is coming up in June. The meeting.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Anderson.
You can hear that. It took us a while to find someone who'd accept being the director of Miss Ephraim, but they've taken the ball and run, and it's a little later, but it'll be fine. And
who's doing it?
Jan Ogden and her daughter. And also, the legislature had a interim session yesterday and today. I didn't get to it much yesterday. Today in the afternoon, I listened to, they talked about the HB 161 ad nauseum today, and I didn't understand all of it, but I've got to call into Kate Bradshaw at Bountiful to bring me up to speed.
Kate Bradshaw's father is my new neighbor.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Is that the one across the street from you?
Yeah, the one who helped you the other day. Yeah.
Well, anyway, she's been she was the secretary, still is, I think, IPA. Is she still? Kate Bradshaw from Bountiful.
She is.
Yeah, and anyway, we made a connection through Ted, and anyway, I'll get her viewpoint on it, because the one thing I felt like was they said, we have to decide soon. And then it's like, well, where's all this money gonna come from? I'm sure there's like Conoco or somebody involved with helping to sponsor and all those things. But there wasn't a lot of that was shared, which makes me nervous, because if you went to the meeting at Utah League, it's a lot of money that will have to take place, and some people really didn't want the state to be held liable for that. But anyway, I'm just telling you that it happened, and there was a lot of talk, and I think there's still a lot of talk left to go on that particular issue. So I'd like to get Kate's viewpoint again on that. But anyway, so that's it for right now.
Thank you. Councilmember Steve?
Yes, the fire department had a state dinner the other night.
And you didn't invite any?
No, we didn't invite anybody but fire department members. You have to show up.
We're trying to cut back a little bit on the budget.
We had a great time. The guys are excited, it's going well. Chamber of Commerce has gained quite a few people from Ephraim now, and so things are going well.
Great. Councilmember Nordfeld.
Got an airport board meeting tomorrow. We didn't have a quorum for our rec board meeting, so we didn't have that either, but we got a good report from Jordan. Do we want to have a parade presence as a city council? Is
Yes,
that, is that my responsibility to kind of?
Yeah.
guys
you gotta
want
buy about
wanna-
16 boxes of candy.
Right in the back of my truck or what?
That's good. That works. We might need 2
Are
trucks.
we allowing candy to be thrown in this parade?
Um,
Because Tyler did your gig, and he's the one who came up with the taffy, 16 cases. And we all threw it out, and the kids were,
So I think
really
the rule is you have to have someone walking. and
To
just-
throw it out.
They can't be thrown from the
From
vehicle,
the
but you
vehicle,
can walk along and
Somebody
get
has to be
around.
walking.
That's me out
So-
right now.
That'll be Anthony and Chad walking on either side.
Yeah.
Oh, I could do I could do part of
I can-
that. I could brace them.
Okay. So I'll get that settled.
Maybe some of Mayor's.
That's
grandkids.
Saturday,
Oh, there you go.
the 25th.
Well, we had the
Keep it on your
city council
schedules
help
there.
us last year.
Okay.
And Tyler got his son and my grandson and a bunch of those teenage kids in their
Okay.
Hawaiian shirts, and they were quite a hit.
Dennis, we might be able to have the old city council and the youth city council. I mean, us and the, I don't mean the formers, if they are. Us and them.
Right.
okay, last week, I spent about an hour and a half with Holly Sweeten. She is Congressman Burgess Owens' executive administrator. We went to locations for the new grant that we've applied to, and I explained to her very carefully why the Canyon Road was important in our overall economic development of Ephraim, why it was important to get those logging trucks off of a small road and not in front of the elementary, and she got it. She did caveat that with, you guys have been really good at getting these grants, and we need to spread them out. And so I don't know where that's gonna go. Mayor and commissioner meeting, our federal delegation had some interesting reports. 200,000 FAA individuals have been transported throughout the United States using the Custom Border Control app. Most of those 200,000 people have been sent to Florida. And maybe this will come up a little bit later on as I make this report, that you'll.
These immigrants? Is
Yeah.
that who you're talking about?
Yeah, illegal immigrants.
They're picking fruit and working in Walt Disney World.
That's why
Uh,
they're shipping them to New York and Washington DC.
Nantucket.
Governor DeSantis.
There is a push to allow anyone to be considered a part of the census. This is a serious push, which will then change congressional boundaries.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a feeling that this is by and large why specific areas are being targeted.
Do you have any good news there?
Not really. It was a depressing meeting. Senator Lee's office reported that Democrats are working hard to change the rules on Title IX, changing the definition of a woman.
Yeah.
Rocky Mountain Power report, Dick Garlish is Corey here? Yeah, is the new president at Rocky Mountain Power. Did you know that? Yeah, that appointment just came. Rocky Mountain Power is working on wildlife mitigation projects. I'm sorry, wildfire. Not wildlife.
Are we mitigating?
I got my glasses.
Coyotes.
Wildfire mitigation projects, and they're stressing enhanced safety setting. And they plan on killing the power right away if there is an issue. Public safety power shutoffs will become more and more common. Right. And that's something that we've got to communicate with our residents, that is a potentiality.
And don't yell at Corey when it happens.
Correct.
Are we talking quarterly? We have no idea.
It usually is in the summer times, of course, and it's, if you have a bad wind event where power lines could come down, or if you have an existing wildfire that it looks like it's gonna go through transmission lines, they'll cut it.
This is an excellent use of our Optify system that we tested today.
The R6, which is
6 counties.
the old 6 county, it's now R6. They're finally in their new building. They'll be holding an open house on May 12th today at 1. The state is holding off on updating its housing ordinance. This is going to be important. Because they want the state legislators want communities to work out smaller lots, Brian. Where are you? Yeah. I mean, we're talking micro lots. And they're going to hold off for a year. And if they don't see a movement in the state to reducing lot sizes, then they're going to come in and do it for us.
Mayor, the last proposal I saw, Brian will correct me because we were just planning conference last week. The last proposal I saw was 6,000 square foot lots. And our R1 zone already complies with that standard.
Right. Yep.
So,
Our one is 8,000, but our other zones are 6,000 square foot.
okay, but we do have zones that comply with the state standard. So I don't think we're in danger of the state coming down on us. This is a Wasatch.
Not us,
problem.
but it may.
Yeah, it filters.
Yeah. Abby Ivory is the new economic coordinator. She's the former director of the Nephi Chamber of Commerce. She has a lot of experience in grant writing and works a lot with San Pete Chamber.
And with real estate.
The BLM Forest Service is looking at expanding how can I put this? Looking at the expansion of mining, coal mining specifically.
In Carbon County or in?
No, here.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
Wales?
Oh, that's.
a lot of the mines that we have up on the skyline, they're advancing towards San Pete County. But expansion has been stopped because of the national attitude toward coal. But the BLM and Forest Service is trying to reverse policies that have been put into place to limit expansion.
At the national level?
Yep, I know. All of our CIB money that we get as a county comes from these coal mines. And that CIB money has been cut off definitely the last year and limited the last several years. So we'll see how where this goes. I don't know. That was an interesting element in our meeting. So that's all I have. Any questions about that report? Okay, Sean Lewis.
I'll be as quick as I can. You saw the Optify thing, Mayor talked about the 100 calls or approximately 100 calls we got. I think that's great because we're educating our residents on how to get their stuff. There was a picture of me and my family's water usage in the messenger last week. I'm still not sure if
That was Sean in his pool, in his backyard.
It was me establishing a brand new lawn that, yeah. Speaking of Abby Ivory, the new economic development director for R6, we spent 2 hours together touring Ephraim yesterday and going over the things that we have and how she can help us. So already starting to build that relationship and work with her. Speaking of.
Wait a minute, wait.
Yeah.
Just- Okay, Abby was amazed by Ephraim City.
Yes, she was.
She was amazed at our planning. She was amazed at our forward thinking. And I think every one of you department heads are part of what she was amazed about. Her comment.
Her comment to me is we were better prepared than any other city in the 6-county area for economic growth. That it is a testament to us. We're just waiting for the dam to break. And my personal opinion, she tended to agree, is once we see a break in interest rates, we'll see some of this stuff start to happen. So speaking of economic development, if I could move on, tomorrow, GOEO, this is the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. They're doing the 24 and 24 Rural Utah Tour. I just found out about this yesterday. Tomorrow they will be at the co-op from 3 to 5. This includes CEO of GOEO, Mr. Steve Starks, Weaver State alum and former chairman of Larry Miller Companies in the Utah Jazz. So he's making an appearance. We have a gift basket prepared through Abby that includes some cookies from C&J Specialties that will be given out, giving to him as a thank you, just to spotlight things that are happening in Sanpete County. I will do my best to make it over at 3, but if I've got to check out early, but if somebody wants to come join me with that at 3 o'clock to meet Mr. Starks and talk about the good things that are happening here in Ephraim, that would be a wonderful FaceTime opportunity to have. We are right in the midst of RFPs for our public works building. We received 8 respondents and we will be interviewing 4 beginning tomorrow and Friday to select somebody to take us through the process of moving the public works building. So we feel like we've got some really good respondents on that. Brian and Jeff, Corey, you guys like the quality of candidates? We had a good time looking at that. So we'll have those interviews tomorrow and we'll see where it goes. We did get last meeting, we talked about our fleet and how we're processing the how we want to do our fleet in the future. This is a bid that came in this afternoon from Ken Garf. I won't put this on for the live stream, but Ken Garf looking at it for 10 cars. I'll give you the gist of it. Looking at without a trade, the cost would be $137,000 a year, but including the trade equity, our trade equity, they had somebody come down and look at the vehicles that we're looking to trade in. Their original estimate was 150 to 180. Now they're giving us an estimate after they've inspected the vehicles of $200,000. So that went up to help us fund this. And then the cost to the city would be $101,500 for each of the 3 years.
Because we were thinking 145.
Yeah.
Or.
Yeah. So this is excellent news in my opinion. You've already decided, the council's already given me authorization to move forward with this. I just wanted to give you the updated numbers that were exact.
That's the extra money we were looking for.
Not exactly, but yeah. It helps normalize the budget. We are upgrading our website. I think I've mentioned this before, but Civic Plus, our website hoster, every 5 years gives a free website redesign. And Candace and I met with them yesterday. Candace, can I say this, that what we've talked about in the website redesign, we talked about leaning into Scandinavian heritage and evoking Scandinavian influence into our website. And as we're the home of Scandinavian Festival and using some subtle things in our website to evoke those things. So we'll provide more of that when it comes up, but we've got some really great ideas to utilize that to make our website fresh and clean and renewed. So that's going to be awesome. Met with Gary Brinkhurst today on garbage. We would like to, I'm not asking for a decision on this tonight, but Mayor, at the at the commission's meeting or the mayor and commission meeting the other night, Mr. Bringhurst, who is the director of the Sanpete County landfills, brought up a concern that Ephraim is not paying our share of landfill fees as compared to the other cities. And we met with him today to discuss this, and the discussion was very much, this is how the county, other cities in the county are doing this, is they are charging a per electric meter fee. So if you have an electric meter, you're paying that $4 landfill fee for garbage collection and dumping. In Ephraim, we are not doing it by electric meters, we're doing it based on garbage cans. So if you have a garbage can, you're being charged that fee. And the reason we've done it this way, I believe historically, is because this is a fee. Should be a use fee based on usage of the dump. And just because you have an electric meter does not necessarily mean that you're using a dump. And if we were to charge it across the board like that, I believe that would be considered a tax. So that's where the differentiation comes in. We're under no obligation to change anything. There's no law or ordinance or special service district. They can't come and force this. This is a voluntary thing. But I will put on a future agenda, probably after budget stuff. We don't want to get into this with budget stuff, but we will be putting on a future agenda a robust discussion about this garbage fee and how we want to charge it. Right?
Invite him to come.
We could invite him to come and
That's a great idea.
present his
I have a
case.
decision already for tonight.
Okay, we're not asking for a decision
Where goes the money?
because it's not an agenda item, but just to know that that conversation is taking place. Per Margie's report, the league is having their legislative meeting update on Monday, so we will register for that. With the flag being at half staff, we will be trimming the tree because we noticed that the flag here at City Hall got caught into the tree and we got some snags and we got some holes. Doesn't look on that, so we will be replacing the US flag and probably the state flag. There is a question though. We do have an Ephraim City flag. It's currently flying at the community center. It has the raven and the sun.
The middle school kids deserve.
That was designed. Should we be flying the
Yes.
Ephraim City flag at City Hall? And would there be support to maybe trimming the tree and then maybe adjusting the flagpole and maybe adding 2 flagpoles so that we could have 1 flagpole for the US and 1 for the state and 1 for the
Wait
city
until after the budget.
after the budget, but sure. But just to move it so we can fly, because we can't fly 3 from our current standard.
I'm trimming the tree last week.
Well,
What was that, Anthony?
He covered up the money.
Just a little under.
you all saw what my idea was, but anyway.
So I get that, but I've got a city recorder over
I
here
know.
that would strangle me if anything happened to that tree. And I care about my city recorder and I do not want her angry at me in any way, shape or form.
We're just pulling your chain, Candace.
Because we know who actually runs the city. Let's just be real.
I'll bring my chainsaw and take care of it.
Okay, talk about that. Last 2 things, Scandinavian Festival coming up in 2 weeks. Biggest event in the city, so we want to make sure everybody knows about it. We're excited. Things are happening. And then finally, whether I deserve it or not, I'm taking a vacation.
You deserve it.
And on Tuesday, the 28th, I'll be flying out to go out of state. And I will be gone for 2 weeks. During that 2 weeks, we will be assigning John Knutson to be the acting city manager. And we will have to rearrange some things, but I will be out of cell phone range. I will be back. What was that, Lloyd? Or did the mayor say something?
You said it, he just laughed.
Oh, I said, okay. I will be not in cell phone range. I'll be spending most of that time in the middle of the ocean somewhere. And I will be back and viewing the June 5th public hearing remotely. I'll be able to log in on the Zoom and on the YouTube, but I will not be here in person. So don't lynch
And
me.
neither will I, Lloyd, so you'll be running that meeting.
Yeah.
I'll be like,
It's gonna be here short.
no, it's not.
So
You'll be back June 11th.
I will be back that next Monday. I will actually be back in Ephraim on the 6th, that Thursday, but it didn't make sense to come back to work on a Friday. We're just gonna rest and do laundry and do things that week, that weekend. But, and now that everybody's watched that and heard my vacation plans, please don't come break into my house. Chief will need some extra patrols and even crossing during those 2 weeks. But John's gonna be very capable in taking care of things if there is an emergency or something that comes up. But I will be gone for those 2 weeks and hopefully the city doesn't fall apart. What I want to say to that is the city's not gonna fall apart because we have a super great staff
That's
that
right.
doesn't really need me.
Your cat's away.
Yeah.
The budget's in play.
Something like that. I bring it on myself.
There's room for cookies though, if there's an excess. Only those.
I'm done, Mayor. Thank you.
I'll make a motion, we move into closed session pursuant to the provisions of the Utah State Code 52-4-205 for the purpose of discussing pending and reasonably imminent litigation and discussion regarding deployment of security personnel, devices, or systems.
Motion made by Councilmember Stevens,
Second.
second by Councilmember Nordfeld. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we're in closed session. Thank you, everyone.